A year later, the main character remembered her past life. She found herself in a novel that she read on the recommendation of a friend. The novella is considered to have a happy ending. The main character of the first part defeats the villain and marries the main character. The villainess dies in the pain she deserves. Over time, everyone forgets about her so as not to indulge in memories. The main characters have children and live happily ever after. The woman sits in captivity, repeating how she misses the Duke. Ironically, the happy ending of the novel is quite contradictory. The villain at the beginning was the wife of the main character, whom she loved very much. The couple lived happily married for about 3 years, and they had no troubles because love will overcome everything. It was supposed to end well. The protagonist arrives at the mansion as a servant, and the Duke falls in love with her. They begin a secret affair that develops into something more. The lady, shrouded in the darkness of betrayal, does not understand how this could happen. His lordship could not have done such a thing to his wife. Betrayed by her husband, the woman desperately tried to protect her love and position as a duchess. Roman favored her death because the man did not appreciate her efforts. The girl was locked in a tower, but she was no longer alone. The fruit of their love, the main character of the story, was beginning to form in her womb. As usual, the beauty stands by the window, sniffling. She remembers his glow every second, repeating his name over and over again. The girl's mother pines for her ex-husband all day long, except when she feeds the baby. She does not forget about her duties as a mother. The girl tried to understand the woman, but never reached the same level as her. There is nothing good in a man who abandoned his own wife and child. The heroine is afraid that she will have to live in this tower for the rest of her life just because she is the daughter of a villain. It's bad luck to be reborn in a low-grade novel. In these dark thoughts, life passed in the blink of an eye. As soon as the baby learned to walk, she was separated from her mother. Until her daughter's departure, the lady grieved for the Duke, not for her, as if completely ignoring everything. The heroine was sent to the imperial shelter where she belonged. Life in this place was so hard that over time the heroine began to miss the tower. Everyone around her thought that Daphne was the same as her mother and tried to starve her to death. At least the mother took care of the girl's nutrition, and now it is not even clear what will happen. This saddens the little girl terribly, because the unknown is frightening. If the lady had no memories of her past life, she would have given up on it long ago. It is normal for a child to shed tears for days on end. Hurtful words and comparisons are much worse than being ignored and treated unfriendly. I don't want to get used to something like that, but for now, I definitely have to. The caretaker of the shelter turned out to be a real villain. He saw everything and gave tacit consent, which untied the children's hands. No one felt guilty. By the time the girl got used to her fate, a new girl came to work at the shelter, who seemed nice at first glance. Unlike the others, this beautiful lady made a good impression, as she behaved quite kindly, as if she needed something. The virgin secretly brought sweets and talked about how beautiful Daphne was. She treated her kindly, as if she were her mother. At least there was someone sane in this shelter, which already made the young girl happy and warmed her soul. All that was left was to pray that this would continue forever. The villainess's daughter cannot hope for a quiet life. The knights brought the girl to the tower to look at her mother for the last time. The last meeting must take place. Daphne doesn't believe it. No one can wish her well without some partial benefit. It's impossible for a person who only misses her husband to remember her child. But no matter how bad things were, the woman fed the baby when she cried, and her embrace was warm enough to make her forget her hunger and her plight. The memories will always remain. But now, when she enters the main hall, the little girl freezes. In front of her on the bed lies her very thin and pale mother. The woman breathes heavily, trying to turn, but nothing happens. Until the last moment, she calls out to her beloved. All this time, when the heroine was beaten and scolded, she endured. It is worth thinking that the mother never remembered her daughter even once. It becomes much more painful. The Duke turned out to be a scoundrel. He forgot about his family and now lives happily ever after. The lady doesn't quite understand this. Still, the pain caused by indifference is incomparable to anything. Smiling, the girl gathers all her strength and says her name. No one gave her a name, so she named herself in a similar way. The lady remains silent. The mother will silently look into the eyes, similar to her father's, and again yearn for the husband who abandoned her. The girl decides to show favor. She understands that the woman dreamed of becoming her father's wife, not her mother, so she does not put any pressure on her. It is better to sleep and not wait for that man. The woman opens her mouth to say something, but her eyes close and her hand goes limp, hanging in her daughter's palm. She won't say anything else. The knight covers the girl's face with a handkerchief. Tears well up in her eyes, even if she wants to remain strong. After all, the main character is just a child. The girl tries to stop while she is being pulled somewhere again. They will never see each other again, and even if the last meeting was painful, it does not mean it was less significant. Still, stopping already on the stairs, Daphne asks the gentleman what will happen to her mother after what happened. She really wants to know. Obviously, the hero did not expect to hear such a question. The baby is a 7-year-old child who does not yet understand what death is and what comes after it. Thinking about something for just a second, the young man suddenly says that the woman will go to hell because of all the deeds she managed to commit. Leading the girl down again, he asks her to never do anything bad and to live right. Otherwise, the heroine will end up just like the Villainess in the tower. The first people to do bad things to the lady were the main characters. They had an affair in secret from their mother, the Duke's real wife. Mother did terrible things to them, but she didn't deserve worse. The looks that burned into the child that day were full of malice. Surely each of them condemned the lady. She did not want to be treated like that. One thing is certain. No one showed sympathy. The child had just lost a loved one, but no one cared, because everyone cares about themselves. Now Daphne's mother will go down in history as a villain, and she must prepare for the tragic end that awaits her. According to the plot, after the death of the negative heroine, the girl will be beaten to death. The fate has already been prepared, and it will be extremely difficult to change. The knight interrupts his thoughts, continuing to drag the beauty out into the street. She falls to the ground, and instead of help, she simply hears whispers of condemnation from all around. For a lady, the real monsters are everyone around her. They are adults who ultimately don't even care for the child properly, just continue to behave inappropriately. Yulin rushes forward, asking her charge if everything is okay. She noticed the little girl sitting on the ground, so she couldn't stand aside. The child fell, and no one helped her. Yulin is furious because the little girl has torn her knees, which need to be treated quickly. The girl calls her back to the shelter. If she goes back, she will die, even if you think about the fact that death was only mentioned in one line. It was never mentioned who beat her and how exactly. Before Daphne goes back to the shelter, she needs to meet someone. She sees a man with dark hair in front of her, a large build and dark blue hair the color of the night sky, as well as a sharp chin hint at, or rather scream about the person. The sparkling golden eyes that the maiden had only seen in the mirror before glow opposite her, making the heroine think, this man is the biological father of the girl who realized this too late. They look at each other. The child doesn't like the man, but he's the only lifeline. If the little girl disappears from his sight, she could die tomorrow. They tell him that this is his daughter, or rather, the daughter of the villain, Frayne. The look immediately shows the hatred that runs through his veins. I want to start swearing, but it would still be pretty stupid for the beauty to miss her chance. She has to survive. Daphne reaches out to her father, calling his name, but he turns away in disgust. According to him, this is not his child. The woman who even hired someone to harm Ulysse couldn't pay for the services. Most likely, she offered something else. There is no point in calling herself a duke's child without knowing what blood flows in her veins. It would be best for her to remain silent. Walking further, the young man stops in front of the stretcher. The knight says that the woman's death has been confirmed, so they will deal with the body themselves. The brunette came for the last time to witness the death for the last time. He did not pay attention to the fact that the girl had previously been his wife. Frayne was unhappy until her last breath. This is exactly the plot and ending that is prepared for the villain who lost history. Yulin brought the baby to the gate. They return to the horrible orphanage where they continue to prevent her from living a normal life. Entering inside, the beauty calls her friend, but she exhales angrily. She thought that this was a great opportunity to change her life. The hopes were empty. No matter how hard the woman tried, nothing worked. And now she blames herself and the girl for what happened. Yulin stayed close to Daphne, thinking that she could live comfortably as a nanny in the ducal family. That's why she was kind to the little girl, and then she realized, what happened is really annoying, but no one knows what to do next. The brunette snorts right in the face. The children standing behind them start laughing. They heard that the villain had finally died, and that was good news, because that was what everyone was saying. The little girl restrains herself, but squeezes her hands as hard as she can. She can't do anything because she is helpless. It's best to just ignore everyone around her as she usually does, but they keep stopping the beauty. They say the Duke killed the girl's mother. She turns sharply and freezes. She wants to know all the details that were unavailable until now. The children continue to laugh. The father kept the woman locked up and denied her normal conditions until she eventually died. She and her mother weren't the worst, so it's really hard to tolerate this. If you get angry now, there will be bad consequences. Eyes widen sharply. The beauty realizes belatedly that in this case, she should not try to hold back. I don't want to butt in because they are just kids, but these people are butt in. They say hurtful things on purpose, as if testing your strength. Still daring to say something, Daphne asks if her situation is worse than that of the other kids. It's different for them. The brunette is not acting like this for the sake of anything. Better watch what you say, otherwise in time she will get what she deserves. Then the little girl goes to her room to avoid igniting a conflict, but Yulene stops her. She couldn't say something like that to her friends. The woman had been silent before, but now she decided to speak out, although it is best to do this in relation to others. The attack is directed at the wrong person. Daphne went to her room. She was ordered to think about her behavior, which must be corrected as soon as possible. Now the girl understands what it means to be an orphan. Her mother died as a villain in the eyes of society, and the Duke does not consider the beauty his child at all. At first, the maiden thought that she would not care, and she would be able to endure everything. But in reality, it turned out that this was a mistake. Theoretical questions are always like that. The feeling, like tears nearby, overtakes at the most inopportune moment. Around people who criticize a person, children who bully, employees who insult, and the director who pretends that everything is fine. No one knows, but one of them will definitely beat the lady to death. She can't sit and wait with her hands folded. The beauty falls asleep in bad thoughts. She did not notice how evening came outside, so she looks out the window. As the lady is about to get out of bed, she slows down. She hears strange sounds as if people are climbing up to her. It's Yulin again. As the elders said, the lady spoils her charge too much, so it's best to assign some kind of punishment. Daphne did not realize her mistake and did not repent, so tomorrow she will go with the brunette to where she is told without questions. When many people scold the girl, everything will finally become clear. When going outside, the woman lines up the boxes so that she does not escape. Panic sets in almost immediately. The woman is going to take the main character somewhere, and most likely she will die there if she fails to escape. The girl collects the kit of things provided to the orphanage. It includes some clothes, worn-out shoes, and a couple of hair garters. It's sad to realize that you have to live like this. There is nothing in this suitcase that really belongs to the girl. For some reason, the child had previously put up with this kind of treatment, but there was a point to everything. If she had managed to escape, she would never have said goodbye to Frayne. If the beauty follows her mother, then after some time, the story will begin in which the sweet heroine of the first part will grow up in peace and happiness. The girl will run away from home and go to a neighboring empire in search of adventures, where she will meet a friend. Then the story of love will begin. This couple is in for a happy ending. It couldn't be any other way, because they are the main characters in this book, which has already begun. The death of the villains is the guarantee of such an ending. Good things await those who did terrible things only because they are the main characters. It is not worth watching what is happening, so the little girl will change the course of events so that history does not go down the same path. If you leave things as they are, fate will prevail. But if you change history, you will be able to avoid the villain's fate. The heroine will not allow herself to be broken in the same way as her mother was once. She bandages her leg as it hurts a lot due to the fall. Moving the bed aside to look at the door, the little girl finally notices it. It leads straight to the pantry, which was closed. Unlike other children, the heroine lives in a room completely alone. If she were left with other people, there would be problems. It is for this reason that she was given a separate room. Obviously, this is a way to isolate the villainess from everyone else. If the girl manages to open the door to the room from her storage room, she can easily get outside. This is exactly what she needs so badly. The plan was made, so the beauty returned to the second part of the novel. There is confidence that there is information that will help. The protagonist of the second book breaks into the house of a high-ranking lady in an attempt to rob her estate. The boy's plans quickly collapse, and before he knows it, he falls into a trap. He is captured almost immediately. The lady, impressed, appoints the young man as her successor. He meets the main character to go through many adventures and then find happiness. First of all, the hero should never end up in that place. That's how the probability of a happy ending will be reduced. We need to find a place to live, changing the course of history. We need to avoid meeting them as much as possible. The person who can protect Daphne, even if only temporarily, is the one who will become the protagonist's stepmother, Chloe Benedito. It is important to prove your importance. There is a reason why the woman adopted the boy. She wanted to use him as a weapon for revenge in her plans. The girl once lived in the same orphanage and was later sold on the black market. This act was committed by the caretaker. Chloe, who overcame adversity, rose to the top in the Benedito family. The best option was a place that was involved with horror. According to the novel, the caretaker kept documents proving his fraud. The main characters later set out to find them. The girl decided that as soon as everyone fell asleep, she would go for the papers. She would be able to escape and make a deal. An hour later, the bell struck. The sound meant that it was already midnight, which meant that we could begin to act and set out on the job. Daphne was smart enough to wrap her arms and legs in pieces of cloth so she wouldn't make any sounds. The girl goes to the principal's office. She is incredibly lucky because no one is standing guard at the entrance. Quietly entering inside, the beauty closes the doors behind her and is immediately surprised. There are millions of luxury items around that are of no use. This man now seems even more extravagant. Perhaps he managed to get money from another sponsor besides the Empire. There is no time to think about everything that is happening. You need to quickly find the documents before anyone arrives, and that is all that occupies your thoughts. There was nothing in the first drawer, so the maiden jumped to the second one, which was also empty. The last drawer was locked. For some reason, it still wouldn't open even after trying. There's no key nearby, so we'll have to start looking before it's too late. The protagonist of the novel is strong enough, so he probably opened the box without a key. However, the maiden herself cannot do this because she is too weak. Sighing, the heroine is going to think it over calmly. The caretaker is an extremely absent-minded person, so he could have forgotten something. The director is one of those who doesn't like to move around much, so this is definitely not on the back shelf. You need to think about minimizing movement. Surely the necessary thing is in one of the flower pots by the table. There simply can't be any other options. The man is left-handed. The girl watched him and quickly realized this, so she looks in the right pot. There is a golden key there, which is needed. Looking at the documents that fell into her hands, the girl snorts. She does not understand what is written there, because she has not mastered the alphabet of the New World. Putting the papers in the bag, the beauty breathes a sigh of relief. It doesn't matter what's in them, because there are quite a few pieces of paper that will help in the future. The eyes notice a strange seal. Since it is hidden in such a place, it is definitely of great value. Even that must be taken. Strange steps are heard in the corridor, which drives the beauty into a panic. If anyone finds out that she is trying to escape, they will simply kill her. At the last moment, Daphne hides. Two people enter the office, discussing where Eunice is going to take her charge. The brunette assures that the girl will not die, even if the one she is taking her to finds out about the purple hair, just like Frayne's. In any case, there is no one to take care of the child, so it does not matter. The director freezes as if he suddenly noticed something below. The girl already thought that she was caught, but the young man directs his attention to Eunice, saying that she is beautiful. The two have a relationship. The woman does not want to be alone in this place because it is cold and dark. She wants to get into a warm bed where they can do everything. In such disputes, the couple left. The whole life literally flashed before the eyes of the child, who is very frightened. There is no time left to think. You need to hurry and leave so as not to run into anyone on the way out. The lady goes forward through the office. A lamp can be seen in the distance. The adults said that they fill the lamps with oil and store them in a warehouse, so there are many more of them there. Leaving just like that doesn't seem like a good idea anymore. The plan is adjusted. The clothes are lying on the bed, as if the lady had been sleeping there. The shoes were also placed in front of the door. This should definitely work to make everyone believe in Daphne's plan. The main thing is that no one notices anything, and if you cover your tracks well, everything will be wonderful. It's time to say goodbye to the shelter. A new life begins, but the heroine promises herself that she will survive. The beginning of the story will be changed, because the beauty will not sit and wait for her time. The lamps were in the storeroom. These were indeed the only things, since nothing else was ever given out. Now their time had come. There is a lot of oil, so it will be possible to create a fire in which even all the bones will burn. No one will be able to figure out Daphne. Everyone will decide that the girl is dead, and then her life will be much calmer when no one knows her identity. The match with fire flies to the floor. Now that the villain's daughter is dead, the caretaker will be held accountable and the child benefits will be cut several times. Even with such a development of events, the beauty still does not feel guilty of anything at all. The blame lies entirely with those who work there. As soon as the heroine is forgotten, she will return. From now on, the shelter will be in complete chaos, which will be impossible to stop. At night, no one walks the streets, so the lady quickly reached Benedito's secret door. It is located in the hedge behind the bushes. According to the story in the novel, only clients who came on secret business could pass through this door. No one else knew the password. You need to pretend to be such a client and just say the password. If the heroine's memory does not fail her, she should guess everything correctly. Everything turned out to be correct. She knocks on the wall 3 times in the right rhythm, and then the bricks start to slide aside. There is no one inside. Further on, the lamps are burning, so the heroine decides that it is worth going forward. Below, a light and a man are visible, who notices with surprise that a child has entered the estate. The guy's voice is very soft and as handsome as his appearance. He asks again, as if asking someone else, where did the child come from? The girl gets straight to the point. She came to meet the owner of the trade guild. He is not the kind of person you can just meet. The young man refuses. He asks to get out so as not to give in now. The girl takes a deep breath. She screams that she wants to get a deal. The next words are already on the way. The man's head starts spinning from the loud sounds, but he is unable to calm the child down just like that. A few minutes later, Chloe comes downstairs, frowning. Someone was causing a disturbance in the middle of the night. It couldn't have been a man. The young man points down. Looking down, the lady notices Daphne, who repeats again that she has come to make a deal with the boss. The child wants to say something, but it is not yet clear what exactly she wants. She asks to be accepted into the merchant guild. If it is right, she will repay. The next second, the heroine hands over the papers. She heard the caretaker of the shelter say that these documents must not fall into Benedito's hands. The mother chuckles. She doesn't know why the girl came or how she found the documents, but she's not sure it's anything worth noticing. The children of the slums can do this work, and perhaps they will be even quicker. The lady expresses her displeasure. The heroine does not understand how something like this could happen. The main characters stole the documents because Chloe really needed them. The girl switches the topic to her hair and its color, which is quite rare. Her eyebrows continue to frown. In this empire, this color is really not seen as often as one would like. At first glance, it is clear that the beauty is Frane's daughter. Damage is all Chloe can get from this child. She asks to go back while she speaks nicely. The maiden turns away. It is obvious that this woman is more terrible than she was at the beginning. She also wishes for death, because the child is the daughter of the villain. Screaming, the lady assures that she will definitely survive. The couple is distracted because there is a commotion outside. They say that a fire has been started in the shelter. Mother asks to make sure the children are safe, but she is stopped. Daphne only set fire to her room to fake her death. If she returns, she will be killed. It is logical, because the maiden is the one who must be punished. Changing the course of history is a difficult task from the very beginning. Everyone wants to die, but fate cannot prevail. Even Chloe refused. But there are other ways. The blonde's face suddenly changes, offering to start from the very beginning. Something has changed. The girl has become more favorable, so she asks what the other person wants. This is the motive. Daphne wants to survive, but Benedito is a man for whom manners are not an empty phrase. She wants flowers and a proper greeting. There is a lot of snow outside. Lady will have to find a way to get flowers because Chloe would not accept something that is easy to find. Outside the city, there are places where flowers grow even in bad weather. You can meet monsters and animals there because it is night outside. If you are unlucky, you can even die. But if the lady is also ready for anything, you need to find 1 red flower before dawn. This is a test to ensure the seriousness of intentions. The heroine nods her head, promising to collect at her own discretion. The man catches up with Daphne. He offers her better shoes and introduces himself as Lennox. A beautiful cloak also fell on his shoulders. The young man does not want the little girl to return to the estate with a cold. The path to the city gates is not short, so Lennox suggests taking the beauty straight to the gates. It will be safer. It is really dangerous outside the city, so if anything happens, the lady is obliged to return. She cannot say no, because otherwise she will die. The heroine preferred to be in the mountains, where there was not a single soul, because everyone who was around before did not miss the opportunity to make fun of her. This guy shouldn't force himself to sympathize with such a person. There is disappointment in his eyes. Half an hour later, the couple arrived at the gate. All that was left was to go outside, and then the girl would find herself outside the city, right in the forest. The young man decides to ask the heroine one last time if she wants to stop before it's too late. She shakes her head, not agreeing. The lady runs forward along the path. She had thought about this before, but this goes beyond what she had imagined before. It's too dark and quiet around. It seems as if there isn't a single soul in this whole wide world. For a while, the girl heard only the sounds of her own steps, but very soon everything changed dramatically. A growl was heard right behind her. There is a wolf behind. I don't want to believe it because it only means more trouble. Breaking away from the spot, the beauty runs into the distance. On one of the bumps on the path, the girl catches her shoe. Her leg gives way to the side, and then she falls. Sitting down on her knees, the lady examines her leg. It hurts a lot, and maybe that's the reason, but it seems like this is its limit. There is no strength to continue on. Tears flow down her cheeks. The beauty came to survive, but in the end, it is obvious that the place will become a grave. A butterfly can be seen in the distance. The beautiful lilac color immediately attracts the attention of Daphne, who is sitting on the ground. Surprisingly, in this area, you can see butterflies even in winter, even if it is usually impossible. It flutters around. The butterfly may be trying hard to show you the way, but don't trust it right away. The color seems very familiar. The purple isn't too dull, but it's reminiscent of the heroine's hair. It's a bit darker, which already gives a hint. This reminds me of Frayne. She looks like a butterfly, but was abandoned by the man she loved. Mother spent the rest of her days in captivity. I want to believe in the best, but the lady is not sure if Mom could go to heaven after everything she did. She did not consider her a villain. Still, following the butterfly, the young lady asks forgiveness for waiting. They come to a rock over which hangs a full moon, and on it are those very necessary flowers. The flower she needs is quite high up, but the little girl is sure that if she is extremely careful, she will definitely be able to get there without any problems. Climbing out, the girl notices that the ground has collapsed a little. She should be much more careful on the way back to the estate. Being on the same level with the plant, the heroine reaches forward, hoping that everything will work out. Her hand finally grabs the bright stem. A smile appears on the face instantly. Daphne managed to make the impossible possible. You want to jump for joy because success is close. The beauty thanks the butterfly, who looks like her mother, for the help that helped her get to the flower. Suddenly, the ground under her feet collapses. Lennox still went to look for his new acquaintance. It was reckless to let the child go by himself, and he notices how she quickly flies to the ground from the slope. Thoughts are jumbled. The injured leg hurts very badly, preventing me from concentrating on anything. The picture is swimming before my eyes. It is impossible to die. The lady tried very hard to get the plant, and she cannot let it end like this. It is difficult to breathe, and her body hurts a lot. The lady thinks that the end has come, but she wakes up in a soft bed, clutching her throat, which is being pressed. A young man with beautiful pink hair holds out a glass of warm water. His smile seems friendly, and he asks how you are feeling. The girl fell off a cliff, and Lennox brought her body to the estate. The flower had already been given to Chloe. First, it's worth introducing yourself properly. His name is Riccardo Benedito. He looked after Daphne for a few days. At first, she felt lousy, but after a while, the temperature went down. The leg still needs treatment. The beauty has absolutely no strength, and she does not understand whether she will be able to walk further. The unknown is very frightening. The girl got hurt, but everything will be fine. From now on, the boy will become her brother, which, of course, is not the best option. So she jumps aside. Benedito, coming out of the door, asks what no means. The girl looks better, although she was originally asked to bring a flower and not to return crippled. The whole situation made the woman very upset. It is worth being a little softer with someone who has suffered just as much, without even noticing it. In the novel, the blonde was described as a cold person who knew no doubts or remorse. She was depicted as very vengeful and cruel. After all, what is written in books is not always true. Virgo sits down next to him, saying that she wants to at least apologize first. The girl walked out of the gate looking scared and tired. Chloe didn't even hope that she would be able to do anything. After all, the flower was now in the estate. The plant is called Stachia and has pain-relieving properties. They only grow on rocks and are very difficult to grow on your own. 100 zlotys is a good profit for a flower, but it is not so expensive that it is not worth giving. It is amazing how Daphne made the impossible possible. The girl managed to win this deal, and since Benedito received both the documents and the flower, she must listen to the conditions that the new acquaintance will set. The blonde doesn't want to ask for too much, but asks to be made the new successor to the merchant guild that Benedito runs. The demands have increased and it seems excessive, but the maiden quickly clarifies that the guild itself is not important to her. She only needs to obtain the status of heiress that will be given to her. If the baby becomes the successor, even the main character will not be able to do anything. And this is how the course of history will be completely changed. If you need power, it's easier to enlist the support of Chloe herself. This is not the most important thing, because the young lady wants to change the ending completely. After the villain dies, her daughter must also die because it symbolizes a happy ending for everyone else, including the main characters. I don't want to blindly follow people's wishes. They can do what they want themselves, but the heroine herself doesn't want to live in such a way. The blonde promises herself that she will write her own story. She will do everything to make her fate happier than everyone else who is destined for it. Even if there is no chance in a fight, you have to try. This is too much to say, so the little girl falls silent. She doesn't want anyone to notice that she is not a child. Chloe says she was sold to a horrible place to do menial labor long before she was old enough to grow up. She went through a lot of hardships. All of the lady's friends suffered a similar fate. Some died, and some lived so hard that it was easier to die. It turned out that this often happened to the children of the orphanage, and the director was behind it. The lady decided to take revenge. Benedito won't let the man get away with it. He has no right to sleep peacefully after what he did to the others. The woman worked hard to get the opportunity to punish the guy accordingly. The information in the papers will help. The lady needs a duke and Chloe needs a director so they can help each other. Everything will go exactly according to plan. If a child wants to work with the main guild, she must learn the price of things and learn how to make deals. This is exactly what was told to the main character. Now the woman says all this to Daphne, which means only one thing. Obviously, she will be allowed to stay and become the heir only by title. At first, the blonde thought she would just be supportive, but she likes dreams, determination, and willpower. Good qualities are always important for an heiress and a daughter. From now on, the lady will become part of the family, so she will be called Benedito. It is an honorable surname that she has earned. Leaning closer, the girl hugs the baby, taking her in. She radiates kindness and warmth, which was so lacking. Lennox decided to help Daphne first. He carries the girl in his arms, and when she asks if it is hard for him, he nods in denial. The chair won't be ready anytime soon, so there's no other choice anyway. You can't walk on crutches. The lady doesn't know if she can trust the man. They are not a real family, so it is unclear whether they have the same idea as Yulene. Distracting the girl from her thoughts, the young man talks about her new hair color. They are now snow white, just like her eyelashes and eyebrows. Hair can turn gray from shock. It changed because of what happened, and it's Lennox's fault. The main thing is that the heroine is alive. The girl doesn't feel too sad. She has lost the hair color she got from her mother, but now she and Chloe have the same features. Mother gave another color, as if she gave a new life. From this moment on, a more interesting moment begins. The conversation is interrupted by Ricardo, who asks the family to go to the dining room. Many delicacies have already been prepared and placed on the table. The food here turned out to be completely different from what we had at the shelter before. It even made my mouth water. Chloe notices her daughter staring at her food. Perhaps she doesn't like it, or there's some other underlying reason. Assuring that everything is fine, the blonde is about to eat. First, she should learn her duties as someone who is in the guild. In exchange for the blonde giving him shelter, of course, something needs to be done. There are only 2 simple conditions that need to be met. The first is related to the girl's body. She is too weak, so of course she is no good. We must make every effort to change this. The second thing is finding hobbies that you want to do. It's worth thinking of at least 5 activities that you like and telling Benedito about them. The blonde thought she would have to do the work, but it wasn't so. All the conditions for becoming a successor turned out to be too simple. There is nothing more important than health, especially since the success of a business depends on how much the merchant strives to do everything in the best possible way. A girl should learn to achieve everything she wants, no matter what. You need to hide your desires, but first you should realize them. It is worth doing 2 things that Mother asks. After the conversation is over, the lady takes a briefcase from under the table. She forgot to give it back. The girl watches her thing, fascinated. There, in her pocket, is a seal, and she doesn't know if Chloe has seen it. The blonde didn't throw the thing away because she thought it was valuable. She was probably right. Perhaps the lady is waiting for the seal to be given to her. It is a last resort. Come to think of it, Mother said earlier that a merchant should remain calm in any situation. Smiling, the beauty says, "Thank you." She never thought her thing would be saved, and when she says it, she means it. The heroine nods her head. It becomes clear that they are not going to show their trump card. This is exactly what Chloe's daughter should be like. Benedito is about to leave. For now, Lennox will look after the girl, and Ricardo will definitely learn healing magic to help his sister. For now, the first thing the young man is going to do is fix the girl's hair. She had cut it off back in the orphanage because it was the subject of ridicule. The little girl was probably very scared, but the reason was also a little different. She thought that they were much worse than everyone else's because of the color. If you think about it, the beauty had more serious problems. The sentence is never finished because the young man begins to cry. It's strange that a man cries when it doesn't concern him. Another brother promised to learn magic to cure the villainess's daughter. This family has too many weird things going on. They're all trying to help a kid they've only known for less than a month at most. They do it sincerely, unlike Yulin, but it is still worth issuing a warning. The girl is greedy, so you should not treat her well. Slowly opening her eyes after sleep, the girl hears her brothers discussing what happened. Lennox is confused and does not console his sister. Even the mother, who seemed not so kind, asks to show respect to Daphne. She was given back the last trump card that she keeps. Everyone is so kind that you wish it were real. The next morning, the lady wakes up and realizes that while she was sleeping, she seemed to have heard the voices of a new family. Maybe everything that happened was just a simple dream. Dreams must have come to life in a dream, and it is not as wonderful as if it happened in reality. She wants what happened to be real. She can ask questions, but she doesn't have the courage to do so. The heroine thinks that she will only disturb everyone in vain. The blonde, opening the door, enters the room, immediately putting on a smile. The daughter woke up quite quickly, which undoubtedly made her happy. The girl dreamed something good, but she was not sure of it. Benedito nods, wringing out the towel with water. It remains to hope that at least the next day you will have a good dream that will bring joy. This woman is really kind. It feels like they actually accepted the villain's daughter into their family. I can't understand why she was so lucky. Trying to hold back her tears, the little girl still falls. She asks her mother why Lennox and Ricardo are so kind to her. They are the first people like them. The girl realizes that she said everything out loud. The lady will want to know why she asked such a question, but she can also say that she hates the girl for no reason. It is scary to realize what will happen. Taking Daphne in her arms, the lady carries her forward along the corridor. She managed to prepare a gift for her that will definitely be deserved. The blonde was brought into a beautiful, spacious room. In the middle, there is a bed, which will now also belong to Benedito. The finger points to the closet in the corner. There are a lot of outfits there, so the girl will have something to wear. There is no need to worry about anything. There were many useful things in the room. The lady prepared a table and bought a doll, which, if anything, could be a good company for the child. How can you not look? The room was really decorated for Daphne. She starts crying again, while assuring that she likes everything very much. The blonde doesn't understand why she is treated so well. The woman is so caring that it is hard to believe that what is happening is real. At the very beginning, Benedito thought that she would be given everything she needed, and that was it. If her mother continued in the same spirit, she would not want to give anything away. Trying to calm the child, the girl assures that there is nothing to be afraid of. She did not think that it would be so difficult to accept care. The heroine simply does not know whether she has the right to accept everything that is given to her. The girl will not be able to bear it if she is once told that she is simply not loved. Having lost the warmth and care that was given to her, the maiden will not be able to find the strength to live on. In the future, when a girl has a child, she does not want him to go through all this. She wishes him happiness in advance when she is little. The same goes for Chloe. She doesn't want this to happen, and she got to a high position because she overcame many difficulties. It's even unbelievable that the daughter had to endure everything that the heroine herself did. She didn't want Daphne to understand the cruelty of the world so early. Now the virgin is the child of this woman and can calmly go about her business while the others take care of everything else. This means that the blonde won't even have to do anything. Naturally, she is expected to grow up healthy and happy. In order to live a good life without worries, you need to try not to get sick. Do everything your heart desires and enjoy everything around you. If you overcome the difficulties, you can achieve what you want. Ricardo and Lennox are not going to inherit the trade guild, so do not worry, because they will not lose anything. The little girl was afraid that she was taking away her older brother's place, but in the end, it turned out that there was nothing to be embarrassed about. These words are something the beauty never even dared to dream of. Just one sentence warmed the young lady's heart incredibly. The tightly closed gates opened. It is hard to believe that now the lady can receive love and everything that it brings with it. They said that Daphne was now part of their family. Now they would help each other on the way to their dreams, so there was no reason to give up on love. The first wish is that it would be possible to call Chloe mother. It's not even a wish, but the girl was the first to start a relationship. Another wish is for Benedito to teach the child to write. I want it to be the head of the guild who can be trusted. It's worth pretending that the second wish didn't come out, because after all, the mother was going to do it sooner or later. No need for requests. The brothers arrive to talk to their mother, but upon noticing the hug, they immediately join in. Ricardo tries to push Lennox away, causing a smile to appear on the heroine's face. Closing her eyes, the lady thinks of nothing else. She just wants to thank them all for the way they treat her with such reverence. A young man with dark purple eyes follows a slightly older man. They both wear cloaks to avoid being noticed. Before dinner, Ricardo thought about how to make Daphne's life easier. He suggests leaving the house only when necessary. The girl will be lonely if everyone leaves. It was this thought that prompted the hero to such a conclusion. He wants the child to feel love and care. Chloe is also joining in on this challenge. She will be doing all of her overtime work at home instead of her office, at least for a while. Mother changed a little. They began to take turns caring for the new family member, trying to invest as much feeling as possible. Now the baby even began to smile more often. She enjoys every day, thanking God that now she is no longer alone. The girl is sitting with her books. She doesn't understand some task, but she is going to ask her mother when she comes back. It is 11 o'clock, usually bedtime. Today, the maiden made a mess of things because she confused the cocoa prepared by Ricard with Lennox's coffee and drank the wrong drink. In the end, the mother got angry and scolded them both severely. They immediately obediently lowered their heads, asking for forgiveness for not looking after the baby as they should have. The girl couldn't fall asleep due to the effects of caffeine, so she continued studying in Chloe's office. But then she was called to the capital on urgent business. Now it becomes clear that Benedito will be late. The beauty rubs her neck, which is stiff from long sessions in one place. The clock glows brightly when someone passes through it. It should be Mom, but two men in a cloak come out. The girl has poor eyesight, but she understands that the moment of the novella's main character's appearance has come. For some reason, there are two guys, which complicates the task of understanding who is who. It is unclear whether what is happening is related to the mystery that surrounds the man, but readers never received a detailed description. The brunette rushes forward, telling the other that he caught the girl. The boy was caught trying to kill Chloe, but this man does not look like the brief description. It was on this day that several partial coincidences with the original occurred. Since the lady accidentally drank coffee, she did not fall asleep until late at night, and the mother left for the capital. It seems that history is putting everything in its place, and the road to the outcome prepared for Frane's daughter is once again stretching out. Grabbing a blade, the man forces the beauty to tell him where the head of the trade guild is. She remains silent, so he decides to take action. A second later, screams calling for help are heard throughout the estate. The girl does not want to die just like that and at such a moment. The brothers run into the office with lightning speed, but the brunette is in no hurry to let the girl go. He asks no one to come near, otherwise he is going to harm. I don't want to believe that the bastard who took the child hostage is the main character. The middle-aged boy stands aside as if he doesn't care. Ricardo orders his sister to be released, but of course no one listens to him. He casts a circle of magic around himself to show the others that it is not worth playing with such things. The wizard turned out to be quite good, so in a second her arms and legs are wrapped in chains. Daphne quickly flies to the floor. Lennox catches the girl at the last moment. He puts his hands out to keep her body from hitting the floor too hard. The couple is so distracted that they don't notice another boy attacking from behind. A moment later, he too is in chains. Even when the boy was hanged, he made no sound. Everything looks safe, so the brother returns to the young lady to ask how she is feeling. It is indeed dangerous to speak at such a moment. The girl, with wide eyes, notices how behind them the same hero breaks the shackles on his hands and feet. It's hard to believe that this man was able to break the chain of magic. He's approaching at an incredible speed, and it seems that he's not aiming at the heroine herself. The hero ran past those standing around, and instead of attacking them, he simply kills his partner. Horror is reflected even on the faces of the elders. It's scary to realize that a person who recently threatened others has died so quickly. It doesn't make it any easier because the person notices everyone else. The young man was about to do something, but in the end, right on time, Chloe arrived and made him soar into the sky. The boys attacked Daphne. Even with the arrival of Mother, it didn't become easier. But the deer people are now safe, so this realization makes it easier. Judging by his appearance, the hero is just a child. The beautiful violet eyes resemble the one described in the novel. This boy is definitely the main character of the second part of the novel. Now all doubts have finally disappeared, and instead there is awareness. Either way, the boy is no different from other killers. It's best to do the same to him as everyone else, for safety's sake. The story will not end if the main character dies. Then everything will end, but it is not clear whether this will be the right decision. The woman puts the boy down on the ground, telling the brothers that they should think things through. They shouldn't jump to conclusions. Mother wouldn't kill him. According to the original plot, he will become the successor, and it will be she who will be able to convince the young man with her words. Coming closer and smiling, the girl snorts. Considering how scared Daphne was, the young man does not dare to count on the quick death he deserves. The girl didn't think that her mother could have such an expression on her face and such a tone of voice. That's why the admiration for the chapter will never end. The plot has already changed. Everything began to change as soon as the beauty deliberately took the place of the main character. She understood what exactly she was going for and what she was going to do. With the guy's death, the original plot will end, but then the lady will become like the people she hates. This seems like an even scarier ending. If the child is harmed in any way, the beauty will blame herself for the rest of her life. It is very hard to watch the last minutes every time. According to the novel's plot, the girl is in for an extremely unfavorable end, but that's why she doesn't want to harm anyone. The blonde asks not to kill the young man. Even though this is the last chance to bring the novel to an end, I don't want to build happiness on someone else's grief. It won't lead to anything good. Everyone starts apologizing for the way they behaved. Everyone knew Daphne was impressionable, but not that much. No one presses or judges for what is said. People around, on the contrary, try to tell them that they should follow this example for the future. The boy looks at the heroine again. There is a certain power in his eyes that gives you goosebumps. Something is definitely wrong. Turning to Ricardo, the beauty hints at something odd. It needs to be double-checked so that later you don't accidentally regret it. The test was successful. The blonde had been watching what was happening all this time and concluded that the eyes had changed a little. Daphne was right. The hero was hypnotized and the spell was cast very casually, as if the man didn't care. Chloe takes on a vicious tone that once again shows how upset she is. The thugs dared to harm this boy. In any case, the family cannot leave the young man in such a state in the house. I remember the cage that is in the forest for catching wild animals. Although the hero was under hypnosis, this does not immediately change his essence. It is worth finding out who is behind the assassination attempt, which was initially committed on the head. It's good that no one was hurt. The girl looks around, realizing that this is now her new family, and they really do get along well. The beauty chose this family herself, doing it consciously. In order to live a long and happy life with her family, she promises to change the plot. The story is quite complicated. Although the hero grew up here, the past of the Benedito Trade Guild was almost never mentioned. It is not known what happened to them when he left the post of head to marry Maria. I want to protect even all of them from danger. It won't work to commit murder. So the little girl is going to surround the main character with care and win his favor. In this way, something will change. The girl finds herself back in her dream. She remembers how she couldn't move her legs, but now she's desperately running somewhere, as if she's late. The lady seems to be running away from someone. She turns around to look behind her, but sees no one because there is impenetrable darkness around. There is someone in the darkness, and this creature will soon grab the lady, who, for some reason, is no longer able to move from her place. The blonde man is trying to wake up the young lady. His name is Winston Chasila, and he is the secretary of the guild leader. The girl immediately says that she wants to go closer to the enclosure. She wants to see that same boy. Winston brought a chair. It had been prepared long ago, but no one had used it, judging by the fact that the man found it in the dressing room. The whole family lied all this time. They were just taking care of the girl because she seemed too fragile and small. There is nothing terrible about it. The beauty was brought to the very forest where, according to Chasila, the enclosure in which the boy is kept is located. He is safe. The young man has not touched the food that was prepared for him a little earlier. It is dark inside, so it is quite difficult to understand whether there is anyone there. The hero was not seen because he huddled in the very corner. His head was lowered to his knees, and it seemed that he was too sad about everything that was happening. The stomach makes a plaintive sound, but the young man does nothing. He was trained during the brainwashing, so he does not dare to disobey this order. This is the reason why the handsome man did not touch the food. The lady involuntarily remembers herself in the shelter. Even when the table was groaning with dishes, she was given meager food, and if she ate something, pain from blows followed. The beauty wants the brunette to eat, but does not know how to make it happen. She asks the man to drive her a little closer to the cage. The girl wants to feed him herself, even if it is dangerous. The rumbling of the stomach was too loud, and the hero does not eat, despite his great hunger. The boy might be scared of an adult stranger. You shouldn't put your hands in the enclosure, but in general, everything is allowed. Coming closer, the lady looks at her new friend. As soon as the lady says hello and smiles, she notices a hostile look that burns through her. The heroine can't just throw a sandwich at him, so she decides to smile and act as carefully as possible. It was kindness that helped even Daphne herself. She asks why the boy is not eating. If he continues to behave like this, he will lose his strength and will not even be able to escape. It seems that everything is starting to work. The lady puts the plate behind the bars. She just wants the baby to eat well, because she knows what hunger is. The water also appears next to the plate, and after this sign, the brunette grabs the food and starts to quickly devour the sandwich. He is really very hungry. Still, the lady is glad that her new friend ate wonderfully. He needed strength to feel a little better than before. The girl promised that she wouldn't put her hands in the enclosure, but something went wrong. Before leaving, she plans to leave a blanket so that the baby doesn't freeze. Winter is not over yet, so it is better to cover up to avoid getting sick. Next time, the lady promises to bring more tasty things. At the next meeting, the heroine asks for a name. She will answer with hers, and thus it will be possible to get acquainted. As the couple walked away, the brunette watched them carefully. He doesn't understand what's going on inside him, but for some reason, a strange feeling appeared that he can't get rid of. At the table, Chloe refused. She does not allow anyone to go to the boy anymore, because he was raised to be someone who is ready to kill others on request. The girl did not expect her mother to be so adamant. The first thing she needed to do was get closer to the hero to get at least some benefit. If the blonde doesn't come again, the guy will most likely continue to starve. This can't be allowed, so she resolutely gathers her thoughts. There must be a way to convince Benedito. Even Ricardo is touched by how kind his sister is to others. There is no need to worry about such things. It's time to use the second wish. The beauty wishes to communicate with this child on a permanent basis. The boy is still too small. He will not eat again as he did before unless the girl watches him carefully. The girl promises that she will not walk alone and will not enter the cage. If he tries to harm her, she will, of course, give in. The blonde really feels sorry for the baby, who is not guilty of anything. After all, she is allowed to do as she wants. The very next morning, the beauty arrived at the place to the cage. Ricardo took her there. She points her finger forward, straight ahead to take straight. The young man sits sadly, but as soon as he sees his girlfriend, his face lights up. He looks very much like a puppy who has been waiting for his owner all day after work. Sighing, the lady looks at the pasta that stands near the bars. The guy hasn't eaten again, so he might have to go straight into the cage. Ricardo does not allow him to get down on the ground, but his sister reminds him that she saw him take a pillow and a blanket. The young man also packed mittens and a scarf to keep him warm. The most important thing is hot cocoa, which has become a favorite. With shining eyes, the little brother asks if Daphne is happy, and she nods. The lady accepts the drink because she can't say she doesn't like it, just because it tastes too sweet. The man took the trouble to prepare it. Laying out all the warm clothes on the ground, the blonde comes closer. The young man's eyes are focused on what he sees in front of him. He looks at something with such curiosity that he probably hasn't seen before. The boy was under magical control all this time. It's worth trying to find out more information. The pillow flies to the ground, but closer, and then the beauty asks for help moving to the right place. Sitting down on the soft surface, the blonde greets the brunette once again. Now they are finally a little closer than they were before. There is no point in asking about hunger, because it is rhetorical. The girl brought warm soup and soft bread, as well as some varied fruits. The little girl asks if her friend wants to try the food, to which he nods enthusiastically. Unfortunately, she can't give it to him just like that. Lowering his sad eyes, full of humility, the brunette allows himself to be beaten only in order to get some goodies in the end. It's strange, but why do something like that to a child? He didn't even eat what was prepared in the evening. There was a truth serum that was added for further interrogation. Surprise takes the beauty by surprise. The brunette discovered the serum only by its smell, which is almost imperceptible. The lady decides to ask about memories from the previous place. She wants to know where the guy lived, how he was fed, and how exactly he was treated. After thinking for just a few seconds, the boy says he was beaten, kicked, and yelled at. For every misbehavior, the punishment only doubled. This hero really had such a difficult past. If everything had happened in the novel, the young man could have lived peacefully if his mother had not abandoned him. The hero was treated worse than Daphne, and they wanted to make him a murderer at such an age. The lady should be happy about his misfortune because he did not kill her, but nothing happens. Somehow this couple is similar to each other. They themselves do not notice how exactly it works, but they are sure that it is true. The girl can't hurt. She's not that strong. She has to do something to give food anyway. Like she said, last time the beauty asked to tell her name when they meet again. The time has come to fulfill the promise. The name is already known from the novel, but I want to address it after the character himself says everything. The boy's name is Ragnar. A smile spreads across the heroine's face. She is sure that this name is very beautiful, and she understands that the moment has come to call him by this name for the first time. This will be the first step towards getting closer. The girl watches with a surprised expression as the boy eats everything offered to him at the speed of light. The guy was very hungry, but now after finishing his meal, he finally thanks for the offer. It was delicious. Noticing the man behind Daphne, the boy starts to hiccup. He is so big because he is an adult, and he will probably use force too, which is incredibly frightening. Ricardo is not scary at all, so he does not understand what the young man is so afraid of. He blinks his eyes in surprise. Turning around to look at the tall guy, the girl looks at her brother again. Most likely, he was scared by how tall the young man was, but it was necessary to find out what could change that. The boy seems to have calmed down a bit after the heroine herself tried to explain everything. He removes his hand from his mouth and lowers it down. Ragnar hates big people. He was constantly punished, so he developed a fear of those who do not even spare anything. Up until this point, Daphne had realized that they were similar, but not that similar. She realizes that they are identical to each other. The heroine wants the brunette to know about the good side of the world. She pours cocoa into a cup, saying that it is the most delicious and hot drink in the world. The blonde knows she's not telling the truth, but she tries. It's her favorite drink, but she's going to give it to a new friend who needs it. The young man does not understand whether he can really drink what was offered. In this case, you need to agree to everything that is possible, if it is from good people. The girl apologizes for giving away the cocoa Ricardo had prepared, but he promises to make a new one. The brunette shouts in surprise that it is delicious. Daphne smiles. He is so simple and sweet that he wants to hug her. The boy asks the young lady why she is staring so intently. I think it's because of his eyes. Everyone says they're disgusting, but that's not true. The eyes look unusual because of the vertical pupils, like a reptile. There is something special about pupils, and it is the pure truth. The lady asks Ragnar to look at his feet to ask her something. Because of the fall, the beauty cannot walk, so she moves around in a wheelchair. The boy carefully examines the bandages. It can't be disgusting. The lady wants to hear the answer she needs, so she smiles slowly, looking straight ahead. The girl also thinks that the eyes are not disgusting. She likes the color purple, so she asks to look at his eyes a little longer. When the young man is safe, everything will be even better. The lady would like to admire them often, so she will come to the cage every day. A blush appears on his cheeks. The boy cannot believe that his first friend in his life will come to him every day and look at his eyes, which are disgusting to everyone. A week had passed since the meeting. Lennox was unable to use the serum as the young man felt everything. That's why the blonde came up with her own method. They play a new game of question and answer that even the hostage enjoys. The interrogation turned into a game, and it was in this way that the lady learned Ragnar's name, as well as where the group of hired killers was located, where he was. It was too late, because when the guild arrived there was no one left. On the new day, the young man began to ask first how the lady lost the ability to walk. When the girl tried to get a flower on a rock, she fell from there, almost breaking. She weaves the purple plant into her hair. Everything is fine, as the family is trying to cure the baby. Everyone considers it their duty to do everything possible. Ragnar has an older brother. He promised to take the boy, but if he really wanted to, he wouldn't leave him in a place like this. That was a long time ago. The young man does not know his exact age, so he cannot say when exactly his brother told him about it. He was still little. The game was over for the day. At the perfect moment, Ricardo arrived, noting that they were already heading back to the estate. Next comes a question for Daphne. The young man has a bag in his hands, which definitely contains something precious to her. It's about tracing something on the ground with a stick. The first thing the man does is uncork the bottle of potion he brought. The twig was watered with the contents, and then, smiling, the young man asked his sister to help him with something. She would not do too much. Benedito originally drew something on the ground and now asks to trace the sign with a stick. This is what he needs the most. It seems as if the family is just playing. Ragnar, sitting in the cage, cannot notice what is happening outside, precisely because his view is blocked by his back. Some kind of circle is formed on the ground. Thanks to Daphne, they quickly dealt with it, which is good news. Rika should thank his sister for speeding up the process. The young man seems to be too happy to show kindness. The blonde nods as usual. An older brother behaves with children in exactly the same way. Even if the girl is a child on the outside, but an adult on the inside, Ricardo is about to show something incredible. He puts his hand on a circle drawn on the ground, bringing it to life with magic. The girl is curious to understand what exactly such a sign represents. She helped, so she has every right to know everything. The man had been watching Ragnar for a week. All the spells had fallen off him. So after a short meeting, they decided to link the hall of the house with this place through a distortion of time and space. For some reason, they use teleportation circles, which the boy doesn't like. He definitely knows something about it, and that's why he's so upset. Without saying why, the pair's eyes met, and the boy instantly became cheerful again. Lennox kneels down, scooping his sister up in his arms. He's going to show her everything a little closer. Ragnar desperately grabs his friend's hand. Strange emotions flash in his eyes, but it becomes clear that he seems to be worried about something. It's gotten a lot colder lately, so it's not a good idea to go back and forth all the time. It's impossible to forbid seeing a friend, so they decided to connect the place with the mansion. The boy slaps his cheek, making a strange sound that echoes everywhere. He can't believe that this is not a simple dream. The girl rushes forward, asking if everything is okay with him. Everything is wonderful, because now he has a new friend who cares about him. Now Daphne will be able to spend more time with the young man. This is a reason for joy that comes out without control. The wound needs to be taken care of first. Lennox reaches for the boy's cheek, saying that he had given them quite a fright with his sudden movement. I can't believe that the main character is so stupid. The way he sometimes behaves makes you gasp and wonder what's going on in his head. In the novel, the young man has a bad character, to such an extent that even when he became close to the main character, he constantly quarreled with her. At night, the lady also decided to check on her friend so that he wouldn't get bored. She got to the hall so that she wouldn't be noticed, and she did it quite easily. Mother's lullaby was so warm that the girl almost fell asleep. She had to resist with all her might. The chair rolls forward a little, and the blonde is transported to the forest using teleportation, which should be tested before use. Ragnar will probably be surprised by the girl's visit. He can react as he pleases, but for now the heroine sees no one. It is dark around, and the light is not on either. The beauty has forgotten that it is night outside, and the boy should have been asleep long ago. Daphne hates the darkness with all her heart. The darkness carries hatred for the girl. She thought she had escaped it, but the memories haunt her consciousness to this day. It becomes difficult to breathe. It seems as if the prison will soon completely swallow the blonde, leaving no chance for salvation. Everything is swimming before her eyes. The heroine tries to stay conscious and not give in to fear, but nothing works as it should. Hands start to shake, but there is no point in calling for help. In the distance, a light is visible, as if from the moon, but it is the eyes of the boy who has stood up that are shining. Beautiful violet eyes shine brightly, warming everything around with their light. This light envelops the baby, embracing her in beautiful embraces. No longer able to hold back, the heroine says that the young man's eyes are simply wonderful. This makes him smile almost immediately. The blonde came to the forest in secret from her family. A smile spreads on her face because it is obvious that the beauty missed her friend. This is also true because there is some truth to it. However, the whole reason is that the lady wanted to give something valuable. The mug with the lid on was filled with hot chocolate. The boy loves this drink, and this was revealed only recently. He asks if Daphne loves him. Surely the little girl also wants to drink the most delicious drink right now. The blonde turns away to choose what she needs to say. Sighing, the heroine nevertheless tells the truth. She doesn't really like hot chocolate, and this news shocks her new friend. The girl used to say that it was the best thing to drink, but now she apparently fell out of love with it and offers it to the guy himself to try. He takes a sip. Daphne comes and plays with Ragnar every morning, and at night she brings him delicious food secretly from everyone else. If this continues, the boy will become dependent on his friend. Over time, it will become difficult for the brunette to hate his friend, and this means that the main goal of the plan is already very close. Noticing how the beauty is behaving, the guy abruptly asks if Daphne likes sweets in general. There is nothing wrong with it, so the girl decides to say it. She doesn't like it because it is too sweet. The girl is afraid that she will melt together with some candy. Her fears are quite strange and incomprehensible, both for the friend himself, who is surprised. It's almost true because something delicious makes you forget about everything. Chocolate-covered marshmallows are a love story in themselves. Sometimes Daphne feels like her will to live might just melt away. She doesn't know how to explain it or fix it. The thoughts are interrupted by a light laugh. This is all because the friend really does behave like a child, which cannot help but be touching. The girl is worried about melting, which is already considered funny. She is too cute to elicit any other reaction. The child considers his acquaintance to be exactly the same as himself, which is annoying. Daphne is about to leave, but the young man stops her by the hand, asking for forgiveness. The young man promises to hold the woman's hand so that she does not have time to melt. He wishes that everything will be fine. The girl trusted the brunette, so now he is obliged to protect her as much as possible. It is winter outside, but Ragnar's smile blossomed. In fact, the young lady will not melt, and she is not afraid of it. But everyone wanted her dead because she is the daughter of a villain. It is not clear how exactly the only friend will react when he learns the whole truth about the fact that the heroine's mother is Freyne, whom everyone knows about. The next day, the brothers went for a walk with the girl. There was no snow left on the street because it had all melted. It had been 2 months since the lady had arrived at the estate, and a month since he had met his friend. Ragnar had begun to hide something, especially recently. When he is alone, the boy seems to be busy, but then, noticing a familiar person, he gets very scared of everything. The discussion of plans for the spring continues in complete cold. Ricardo is going to take a walk with Daphne just like Ragnar wants. Trying to put his hands on the bars, the boy seemed to hurt himself. He grabs his hand, which began to hurt badly. A wound is found on her wrist from which blood is flowing. The girl is worriedly trying to understand where exactly it came from. It seems one of the bowls broke. The young man was washing it and got hurt. He said nothing, hiding his severe pain. It is necessary to talk about such problems, but now there will be a scar. For some time now, this has become something good for the boy. Everyone says that scars are like badges of honor, something to be proud of. Everyone says that, but the family has never heard about it. Daphne looks disappointed, even angry. She tries to calm down by asking if the people who beat him that day said that. The guy's reaction is calm, as if it should be like that. He sat there all alone and continued to endure everything that was done to him. It's hard to resist someone, but even so, I want Ragnar to be truly happy after everything that happened. A young man should not accept his scars as badges of honor. He does not deserve the pain that affects him so much because he wants the best. People who told nonsense and lied, in fact, you don't even want to know about such things. The girl is now feeling bad and she is incredibly upset. It's time to leave. But before disappearing from sight, the heroine asks her friend to never hide such things again, so as not to aggravate the situation. I don't want any of them to feel bad. And with this phrase, the boy understands that they are just taking care of him, as they should be. Even after the words that everything will be fine, there is still uneasiness in the soul. I wonder where Ragnar, who matured early, used to live. A place where you can't show your feelings, where you won't be taught to fight, where you won't be shown the beauty of flowers. It's probably cold and scary there. The next night, the blonde snuck up to the cage the same way she always did. She was going to find out exactly where her friend used to live. This place is scary. The memories make the brunette shrink. There are human screams that fill the walls. There, people were killed with ease. The boy was promised that he would be allowed to meet his older brother if he killed, but he refused. When this happened, magic was used. After all the fear that haunted him almost constantly, Daphne saved the young man, and now he is completely safe. Before finishing his story, the brunette asks his friend if she is afraid of dark places. He has been around long enough to notice. The heroine has already given herself away, so there is no point in hiding. She is truly afraid of being in the dark, where she will be caught. The father who cruelly abandoned his child is also consumed by darkness, so the maiden fears the same end doubly. The young man quickly understands the whole situation, but tries to sympathize fully. He wants to know why the father abandoned his daughter. This is all because the girl is the daughter of Freyne, the villain. I want to tell the truth, but I don't know what Ragnar will think and how he will react. This boy hasn't even seen flowers because of his imprisonment, but perhaps he knows from somewhere about the villainess and everything she managed to do. It hurts to speak, and the words seem to not want to come out, but it is worth saying sooner. This is all because the lady is the daughter of someone who deserves to die for his crimes. The expression on the young man's face is impossible to read because tears completely obscure the view. He may be angry, or he may be in shock. If the lady had eyes like other people, she would be able to do much more and hide much more skillfully. The lady is afraid to look at Ragnar and hopes that he will be different. After a while, the boy nods his head, because he knows everything, but it does not change anything. The girl herself is not guilty of anything. It is not clear why she was hated so much because of the way she behaves. Daphne doesn't deserve to die, and the boy isn't going to make the others talk badly about his friend, who is now afraid of it. Even if the girl is the villain's daughter, she still saved the guy. Such actions are not affected by what is being done. Even if everyone around is against it, the boy will always love and protect the young lady so that no one hates or mocks her. Even memories of a past life did not always save. In that terrible place, there was no one to trust. Now everything has changed. In this world, there is someone who is ready to protect the beauty as much as possible from everyone else. The last question the young man asks the beauty is about Ricard and Lennox. They are a family, but since Ragnar himself is not part of it, then who is he? This can only mean one thing. The brunette is a friend who is now friends with Daphne. She didn't even think about it. Because of her difficult life, the girl never had friends, so she shifts the conversation to friendship. If you remember her past life, there were good acquaintances. If a young man cares about who exactly he is, it is safe to say that it is his best friend. The first and most important. Without finishing her sentence, the lady clutches her throat. At one point, it seems as if it is difficult to breathe, and it has become cold. She does not understand what is happening to her. Daphne can't say anything anymore. She tries her best to change something, but nothing works, so she falls to the ground. The brothers were the first to hear the noise coming from the room where their mother and sister usually spend their time. They immediately rushed there. There is nothing wrong with barrier magic, but if the magic is destroyed, then something heavy fell. The girl could have fallen out of bed while she was sleeping. There was no one in the room, but then everyone noticed a boy holding Daphne in his arms, saying that he was afraid that she would die. Mother puts her hand to her forehead to check her body temperature. It has been a while since she fell ill, so it is clear why she feels this way. The girl doesn't die. They don't explain anything to the guy because everyone around him is very worried even without him. Lennox follows Chloe, and Ricardo stays behind. The lady will be fine. The boy is also badly hurt, so it would be best to step back and talk. The hero doesn't want to go back to prison, so he asks to stay in the estate until Daphne gets better. It's worth treating the wounds. The boy is carried away, even if he wants to be with his girlfriend. After the wounds are treated, he will definitely be taken to a room. When asked about what happened, there is silence. Everything is wonderfully clear because the girl probably came to play at night. This was all just because the young man wanted to spend more time with his friend. He didn't know what consequences this would lead to. Rika doesn't know what to say, but she thinks about the fact that the boy came out of the cage with ease. For some reason, he stayed inside all this time. The brother holds out his hand as if beckoning. He must give the girl medicine so Ragnar can go with him. Previously, this man scared the young man to death because of his tall stature, but in reality, he turned out to be a sweetheart who tries to please people. The hero even used magic to stay close to the blonde, but no one blames him. They understand that now is not the time. The brunette would like to be treated the same way if he were his brother. For now, he just has to enjoy what he has. The eyes gradually open. The girl asks for water because her throat hurts so much, and they immediately hand her a full glass from the table. Only a minute later, the beauty realizes that Ragnar is next to her. Mother has allowed him to stay with her until she gets better. It turns out that it was the young man who brought his girlfriend to the estate after she lost consciousness. She wants to be angry, but she can't do anything. The young man had been planning to escape for a long time. He knew how to do it and was already planning to. but he kept putting it off because of his new acquaintance who showed concern. The girl got sick because of her friend, but it's not true. She claims that it's not her fault because she decided on her own that she wanted to see the boy much more. The boy climbs in for a hug just as Benedito enters the room, and her mouth opens in surprise when she sees that her daughter has woken up. The baby finally woke up, which makes you happy. The woman was very worried because the girl had been in this state for about a week. Lennox also joins the family. He talks about his uncle, who was very surprised by what was happening. Tom had to help. Daphne is awake now, so Chloe wants to get back to talking to Sherbold. They had agreed on something before. The boy could have left the cage all this time, but he didn't. His motives aren't immediately clear, but it turns out he was afraid of scaring Daphne. They had tried to hurt her before, so she had to be careful. At midnight, Ragnar finally got out, despite his instructions. She wanted to help, so Benedito thanks her for that. Initially, she was going to find Berthold Sherbold's brother, but from the stories it is clear that he is not a good person. Rara said that he would be taken away, but it turned out to be just a lie. He promised to come only if the boy became good and diligent. Berthold didn't take the child because he doesn't keep his promises. When he returns, he will definitely be killed, which of course can't help but be frightening. In that case, it was necessary to find a place for Ragnar to stay. A guest room was freed up, in which the young man could live until some point. The brunette doesn't believe his ears. This means that his mother is not against it at all, and this is good news because he always wanted to live in a normal family. Rara is very happy that he got such an opportunity. Chloe smiles because being a child is not good at all. Now her daughter has a new friend. Ricardo stops the childish behavior and calls the family. It's time for dinner, as everything is getting cold and everyone will join in. Ragnar ended up being a member of the family, just like Daphne. He had never seen food like this, so he looked a little funny from the outside. Evening came. The blonde realized that she had indeed done the right thing, but she also needed to figure out the passage to the forest, which was no longer needed. Perhaps because of Daphne's health, or perhaps because of something else, the lady cannot stop worrying. Her soul is still somehow uneasy. Her legs still don't work as they should. Because of what's happening, the beauty doesn't want to contact the outside world, and her home is very far away. The family tried many medications and other methods, but in the end, nothing worked. All that remains is to hope for God and for that guy who promised to help. The next morning, Sherbold was given new clothes that fit him perfectly. He also noticed Daphne's new dress, which was wonderful. It was quite cold, but the moment has finally come when you can switch to summer clothes, which fit perfectly. Rara is gradually getting used to his new home. He even started learning to write with his new sister. The boy turned out to be quite capable, so everything worked out as well as possible. He helps Lennox and learns to cook with Ricardo. The blonde is glad that her friends' relationships with everyone have started to improve. Lately, everything has been going as well as possible. The young man interrupts the train of thought by saying that he has found the right gift for the girl. She opens the envelope, noticing that inside are a scarf and mittens. The boy did it himself, but he is not happy that he was too late. He wanted to give the set earlier, but there were problems with knitting. Lennox helped, and even if they were doing alchemy, he would finish his gift. This is what was done secretly in prison. The items turned out to be of uneven length and strange knitting, and considering that winter is over, there is no point in them. However, the lady thanks for the gift. It is cold in the evenings, so the set can be worn then. Rara compliments the color, which suits her, but they are interrupted again as a tall man with blonde hair bursts into the room. The man says he has no intention of harming anyone, but instead rejoices in the fact that he finally got to see Daphne. This young man is the girl's father. He smiles, although in reality this cannot be true. The beauty is deeply surprised because she does not understand how this is possible. Finally managed to meet his daughter. The blonde starts crying even more than before, trying to say something else, even if nothing comes out. The guy's eyes are as golden as the heroine's. He doesn't understand how someone can say such cruel words to him. In this country, this color is mostly characteristic of the nobility. This means that this person is definitely a nobleman, but it is not clear exactly what his name is. It would be better if it was just a coincidence, although she bursts in at the most opportune moment. She throws the door open furiously. The face is distorted with anger that is difficult to contain, while the girl loudly screams Axelius's name. He came without an invitation. Noticing Claire, the guy starts crying again, even though he had just calmed down. He compliments her on how cute she looks, standing next to her. It could be the mother's boyfriend, or there could be a more complicated story at play. The blonde can't figure out what's going on as the two stare at each other. A second later, the lady swings her arm and starts screaming, which has already been said before. You always have to go to her first and then go to the others. This is what happens when an uncle doesn't listen to a woman. Lennox tries to ignore it, but the screams are too loud to hear throughout the estate. Looking at the picture that appeared right in front of them, the beauty asks her brother if this is really the crybaby that was mentioned earlier. Finally calming down, the girl exhales heavily. This is too much. Claire dared to raise their daughter in secret from him, who deserved to know her father. Sadness envelops the body, while another wave of hysteria begins. Without ceremony, the girl declares that this is not his daughter, because it is impossible. It seems that the parents need to talk, so the brother suggests going for a little walk. Before leaving, the mother asks if the little girl is scared or surprised. The lady did not want to try to show her emotions in some wrong way, but the uncle cried so hard that her heart even ached. He looked too sad. Daphne is too sweet. She is good not only in appearance, but also in the kindness that she exudes. Her smile seems kind, too. 5 or 6 years ago, before leaving for the outskirts, the young man spent one night with Claire. That's why it seemed that this could be his child. Commoners do not have a golden color like the girls. Most likely, this is his child, but for some reason, Chloe insists that the father is another man. Several minutes pass in complete silence. The hero is not going to ask about all the details, since it is obvious that his beloved does not want to talk about this topic. The man was definitely not called for nothing. It probably has something to do with Daphne's legs, since she sits in a wheelchair almost all the time. The girl injured her legs in an accident, and even Lennox and Ricardo were unable to fully cope with the problem that happened. In this empire, or rather, in the entire continent, these two are the best in alchemy magic. They had to do something in this situation and help. Chloe tried a lot of different options, but in the end, nothing happened. Although they hesitated for a while, since it is better to hide the girl, but then they started working. Axelius was called because the last option was to heal in the temple. That's where it might be possible to do something. And even if it didn't work, it couldn't get any worse. She doesn't want to think about the worst. Claire hopes that it will turn out that Daphne will eventually get back on her feet and grow up as a healthy child with a future. By taking the girl's hand in his palm, the man promises that he will do everything possible. He can be trusted because nothing bad will happen. Axelius smiles, trying to stop the tears from flowing from the lady's eyes. For the sake of a loved one, everyone is ready to do anything. A meeting was scheduled for a week later. There, they would try to cure the beauty's legs, and then perhaps everything would really work out as it should. The girl is being packed for the meeting so that they won't be late. She asks Lennox if he will go with them, but he shakes his head. The paladin will take him. The door opens. The lady sits in anticipation, having no idea who exactly is coming to take her away. She can only be happy about how things will turn out. And it is that man. They are going to head to the Iman temple. The blonde promises that his daughters will help there. His name is now fully known, Axelius Chainard. That crybaby turned out to be a rather high-ranking person. Most likely, the young man noticed the genuine surprise on the young lady's face, so she decides to pull herself together. Before leaving, her brother asks if Daphne is going to take with her. As usual, the scarf and gloves she has grown to love. Gloves should be worn until it gets warmer, and the scarf is used as a blanket. The girl would really like to go with her friend just as much as he wants to go himself. Ragnar has no choice but to disturb other people around him. The heroine herself is exactly the same, which is probably why they became best friends. She doesn't want anyone to accidentally find out that the beauty is the villain's daughter. She's afraid it will come out. She wants to heal her legs as soon as possible. The couple is met by their mother in front of the carriage. She asks Daphne to come closer, delivering a beautiful hat that should protect them from the spring sun. The thing must cope with its functions and cover its face. Everything will be fine just like that. So the blonde thanks for taking care of her. The temple does not accept other guests, so there is no point in worrying. The beauty nods her head, trying to calm herself down. The girl gets into the carriage. The family stays outside, waving their hands and expecting the heroine to return very soon. They will miss her very much. A smile appears on her face once again. The lady is grateful to all her friends for supporting her at the right moment. With the courage that was given to the beauty, she can go forward and reach the end. Her confidence has increased many times. An hour later, the carriage arrived at the temple. One of the nuns who had met the guests joyfully greeted Sir Chainard, whom they had not seen for a long time. Uncle smiles, waving to everyone who sees him. Now Daphne sees that this crybaby really is a paladin, which she had never thought of before. At least the beauty won't be thrown out of the room because she came with an important person. There are whispers all around because no one understands who exactly this child is. Axelius rolls his chair forward as he enters the main hall, oblivious to the discussions going on around him. The lady's eyes roll from side to side, trying to see everything a little better than it actually is. She tries to notice everything that is happening. In the main hall, the Holy One is already waiting for the couple. She smiles, greeting Chainerd, and then points to the seat next to her. The man says that they haven't seen each other for a long time, but the woman laughs because they saw each other the day before. Bending down a little lower, the lady studies the beauty with her gaze, who looks frightened. This is the same child for whom they wanted to ask earlier. The woman learns that the girl has injured her leg in an accident. She says that she has tried all kinds of treatments, but nothing works. It turns out that the heroine is in a more dangerous situation than initially thought. The Holy One is going to start treatment almost immediately. The Virgin is enveloped in a strange, warm energy, which is reflected by the white color. It fits nicely to the body, making you feel more comfortable. Legs are getting warmer. The woman just tried one thing that day, so she asks to try moving her legs to see how sensitive they are. Nodding her head, the beauty agreed to do everything faster. She concentrated on getting up from the chair faster. Gritting her teeth, the maiden hopes that everything will be okay. In her head, she literally begs her legs to start moving before it's too late. Everything turned out exactly as it should. The only downside is that the beauty continues to tremble, trying to calm down. It will take a lot of time and effort to get back on your feet and become whole again, but it will be worth it. The Holy One can help. The blonde smiles. She never knew what God's mercy was, but now she even got to it. Now she understands what it means when God himself takes care of her. His Majesty has also arrived at the temple. He knows that High Duke Axelius is inside, so he tells the guards that they urgently need to talk. This man is the crown prince of the Clemens Empire, but they dare to block his way for some trivial reason that is worth nothing. The main character's attention is drawn to a strange noise coming from somewhere behind her. It seems that something is happening there, but she cannot understand what exactly. The Duke asks worriedly about the girl's well-being, but she shakes her head, saying that she is fine. She just accidentally overheard something. The Holy One is distracting Sir Chainerd. She wishes to speak alone for just a moment to discuss the full situation. The young man asks Daphne to wait a bit. No one will be allowed into the hall, so security will remain here. He hands over a lemon-flavored lollipop. Waving his hand, the blonde assures that he will return faster than the lady will have time to realize that he left and will have time to eat the gift. It really won't take long. The door closes and the little girl is left completely alone in the huge hall. It seems that no one will really enter there because silence hangs. Since there is no one else around, it means that you can finally take off the hat that has been a bit in the way all this time. It's much easier. The lady is about to look around, but the creaking of the door interrupts her thoughts. A middle-aged boy with light hair and eyes enters the room. The man immediately greets the girl and asks her a question. She doesn't understand whether the young man knows anything about her in general or whether he is someone new. The girl immediately understands that the best option is to leave as quickly as possible, but because of fear, she cannot move a single muscle in her body. Looking straight into the heroine's eyes, the boy asks if they arrived with the Grand Duke. Obviously, this is true, but confirmation is needed. The hero notices quite late that the beauty has beautiful golden eyes. This means that she is the daughter of Axelius, who is exactly the same. The Duke listens to the Holy Mother, who is actually very worried about the child's condition. Daphne is in quite a bad state. From one point of view, the lady is sure that the girl will get better. She understands that the young man is impatient, so she lays out everything at once. Her body is different from other children, and you can tell that it requires a lot of energy. In this way, like in the temple, they treat the wounds of ordinary people. However, if she has enough energy, she will be able to fully recover. Taking out a strange basket, the beauty says that this is what will be needed to treat the heroine. Something else is also needed, but she is in no hurry to talk about it. Her problem requires urgent intervention. It is impossible to finish the treatment quickly, since the new energy must have time to accumulate in Benedito's body to a sufficient level. The treatment will take about 2 weeks. This is not the longest period, since before this, the girl had to undergo treatment for about a whole year, which exhausted her. The Holy One falls silent. She notices that Daphne has eyes like Chainerd and hair like Benedito, so it seems that she is their common daughter. The story of Axelius's unrequited love is known to everyone in the capital. His love was strong, while Chloe did not treat him as if she wanted to be together. The woman decides to put aside unnecessary thoughts. She will take full responsibility for the treatment and asks to convey this to Benedito so that she does not worry so much. Trying to change his mind, the young man tries to explain that this is not Chloe's daughter because he doesn't want every second person to know about it. A scream is heard from the main hall. The girl desperately defends herself, screaming that she does not want to answer questions, while the prince tries to pressure her. The young man is outraged that the duke's daughter has golden eyes, while he, the emperor's son, has only ordinary gray eyes that are not noticeable. The girl knows nothing. The children from the orphanage pointed at her, just like the stranger does now. She was constantly reproached for everything. The duke steps forward, blocking the heroine's view. He asks His Majesty why he has arrived at the temple in such an unexpected order. The eyes reflect complete awareness. The beauty did not even think that this was the prince she already knew. The boy really seems unrecognizable. Finally, the maiden also remembered the story and the details of the description of this character's appearance. He was born with a normal eye color, and now it bothers him. This man is also the fiancé of the main character from the second part of the novel. Now he asks if there is a place in the empire where he is forbidden to go. Simon Rogelio Clemens is the sole heir to the Clemens Empire and is currently the crown prince. The boy is quite smart and also has a perfect trained body. He can do many things just because of his talent. The child was born in a happy marriage between the emperor and empress, so he received unlimited love and attention, and his personality is almost perfect. The young man has only one flaw, or rather a complex, which was instilled in him. The golden color of the eyes is a symbol of the royal family, but he was born with gray ones. Come to think of it, the crown prince was the main character's official fiancé, but he hated and offended her. Most likely, there was a reason for that too. All this because Maria inherited golden eyes from the duke, who himself had them. She irritated him greatly, although she did nothing. The girl understands what is in Simon's soul, but she will never forgive ignorance towards herself. Everyone is interested in why the young man came. Axelius frowns. He is no longer in a good mood because Daphne was scared. People go to the temple to pray. That's not the reason used here. As it turns out, the prince heard that the Grand Duke had forbidden everyone to enter the premises, so he arrived immediately after the guard's announcement. The young man heard that the Duke was keeping an eye on how things were going in this temple. After his death, Axelius would become the devouring heir. The blonde does not understand the meaning of the hero's sudden return. To all this, there are many questions about why the others were forbidden to enter the temple. The man was angry. He had clearly told his brother that he had no claim to the throne, so he could not try to take the place of his nephew, who had already been prepared. It is not clear what exactly made the boy so angry, but it does not matter anymore. The hero asks for the last time, but it is time for him to go back. The story about the temple is even simpler. The child needs treatment, so he turned there for help. She is not his daughter, which is, of course, impossible. They look so similar, but they actually have nothing in common. The hair color is slightly different, but it's a shade lighter. It matches the girl's mother, Benedito, so there are no questions. The hero asks not to invent anything unnecessary. He doesn't want other people to draw new pictures in their heads because the beauty is just his friend's daughter. Even the most holy one thought that the heroine was Chaynard's daughter. The fact that her life is constantly interfered with, not allowing her to properly rest from the attention, is starting to get annoying. Looking into her uncle's eyes, the girl asks him to take her home. She is quite worried, but it is not scary because all the fuss was started by her nephew, who is still little. The girl does look tired, so the Duke asks His Highness to go and rest, as he is not in the best shape yet. They will be home soon. The surprise never goes away. It seemed to the heroine that the prince would not let her go. Obviously, the look and eyes made the man worry and get angry even more. The Empress knocks to enter her son's chambers. She wants to remind him that the bride-to-be, who will become the new ruler, will be presented that same day. The young man apologizes for forgetting. Today he looks stranger and calmer. It seems that something is bothering him, but he does not want to talk about it. The mother is about to ask what happened, but they can't keep the guests waiting any longer. The story will be heard a little later, right after the meeting. Initially, it was planned to hold a preliminary election of the crown prince, but the young man will meet with guests without any events. The hero freezes. He does not understand why there is no election in the empire, and immediately thinks that it is because he was born with gray eyes. As the boy walks down the hallway, he hears his mother lamenting that he has inherited her eye color, which does not symbolize royalty. The only thing that can be said to cheer up the young man is that the eyes of the princess who is already waiting for him are golden in color, which is beautiful. Maria is a half-blood, but there is nothing to be done about it. Simon has to accept it because he has no other choice. The boy still doesn't understand what needs to be done and is skeptical about everything. He doesn't understand why he has to make up for something that wasn't even given to him in the first place. The prince must decide something and choose for himself what he is going to do in the future. But it turns out that nothing depends on him, and this is frightening. If the young man doesn't have golden eyes, then there really is no other way out, and there's no point in looking for it. Because there's no point in it. A girl with dark hair and wonderful eyes stands up from her seat. She comes closer, saying that she is glad to meet His Majesty after so much waiting. The boy nods his head, saying that he is also pleased to meet her. He does not know what to say, so he remains silent. The girl does have distinctive eyes, which he failed to inherit. The color is the same for all the aristocrats, but for some reason it seems that the lady in the temple has much more beautiful ones. They seem to glow with kindness. Chloe, upon arriving home, looks at the mountains of purchases. They were brought with them by her uncle and daughter, who managed to pop into many shops upon their return. They look more like customers with greedy hands than visitors. Seeing Daphne's happy face, the young man simply could not stop or refuse. The girl is silent, but she understands that she herself said that she does not need anything. It was purely the hero's initiative, who decided to make the day the best. However, this day was memorable. After they had walked to all the places they wanted, the man asked if his niece had fun while they were walking. It's normal to want your child to have only the best memories of their childhood. If there's a way to do it right, you should do it. People in the shops on the main square offered to buy a gift for the father's daughter. From the outside, Axelius really does look like a family man who is a parent. The little girl is not too happy with how everyone around her reacts, but she understands that there is no point in being angry. Sometimes the lady thinks about what would happen if she had a real dad. Upon arriving home, Rara was the first to greet the girl almost at the door. He smiles, asking where his friend had been for so long. She promised to return soon. The heroine quickly explains where exactly she disappeared to, but then remembers the fact that she even brought a gift to a friend because she understood that it was important. The young man must like it, so the beauty hands over a beautiful box. It turns out to contain a lot of different chocolates, which cause children's delight. After receiving the gift, the boy's mood noticeably improved. As soon as everyone learned that the leg could be cured, they breathed a sigh of relief. Uncle Axelius now visits the family whenever he has free time. He tells interesting stories every time. It's nice to just sit still and listen to what you like, but at some point the maiden gets sad. She would like to run with Ragnar. The man tries his best not to let the lady get bored. From the latest stories, he tells about a trip to the outskirts to help his brother. All of this was not in the original book, so listening became twice as interesting. The girl is happy about this turn of events. The young man continues his story. They found themselves in a huge dungeon, completely covered in water. For a moment, the hero was even a little scared. Ragnar blinks his eyes in surprise. It is obvious that he knows nothing. The heroine is different in that she knows such details. Unlike the hero himself, one day a dungeon appeared and dried up the surrounding land. It is a scary place where monsters attack people. Horrible traps seem innocent, but they are worth fearing. Sherbold shrinks. It's unclear how Uncle wasn't scared, because in his place he would have wanted to run away long ago, preferably as far away as possible. If you overcome all the traps and survive, the cave will disappear. People can only be happy after everything ends. As a knight of the temple, Chainard is obliged to take care of the people of the empire first. The girl would like such a good man to be the emperor. If reality had been different from what it was at that time, and Axelius had learned about the circumstances of the heroine's mother, then perhaps the story would have turned out a little differently. The little girl doesn't even know where Freyne is buried. I'd like to think that her grave is somewhere in a warm meadow that is pleasant to look at. The girl no longer knows what to think about, but she wants to escape from her thoughts. Her mother certainly did not deserve to be treated badly, and her motives still seem strange. That is why the beauty wants to become the new head of the Benedito clan, so that even if rumors start to spread, she can finish what she started and take revenge. Someday, everything will be fine. Time goes by too fast, and the long-awaited summer has already arrived, bringing with it sunny days and a light breeze. Thanks to Daphne's tenacity, the treatment has already shown results. The Holy One was also surprised by such good progress. Extending her hand, the lady takes the girl's palm, asking her to try to rise, holding onto it as a support in order to stand on her feet. Virgo is not going to overexert herself, but she needs to stay calm. She tries to stand up, calming the trembling that suddenly played out in her legs for no reason. Deciding to finally stand on the floor, the lady freezes. She can stand almost normally, except that she has absolutely no strength, as if she had just run a marathon. Adults want to cry. Axelius believed his friend, but he couldn't hope to see it so quickly. Daphne is going to try to take at least one step forward to figure out how to go. The little girl almost stumbles. Uncle assures her that there is no point in trying to rush because there is plenty of time. She still intends to do everything as best as possible. The second attempt was much more difficult than the previous one. The girl can't stand normally, but in her head she begs her legs to move, showing results. The face turns red from the effort that seems to be in vain. The step is finally completed, and the heroine can no longer contain her joy. She will finally be able to walk. Axelius squats down, immediately hugging the girl. He is glad that everything will be fine, and at the same time thanks God for how everything turned out. It's pouring outside. The blonde is upset because he's already bought a cake to celebrate his achievement. It's too dangerous to go home. This means that the couple will not be able to return to the estate. They have to wait another half hour for it to be over. They don't want to get caught in a storm. They can spend the night in the carriage, but the man is not satisfied with this. He cannot leave the child in such a place, so he suggests going to his home. Entering the beautiful estate, the lady's mouth drops in surprise. She didn't think she would end up in such a place, with a beautiful interior and many maids around. Everyone bows their heads respectfully, greeting the Grand Duke, who has lingered a little. The mansion looks more like a royal palace. Turning to the butler, the young man asks that Daphne be given water and house clothes. The young lady will not experience even the slightest comfort. All other servants, except the maid and the man himself, must go home. There is nothing else to do there, so it is already in order. The maid offers the little girl to take a bath. She smiles as she leads the girl further. She can walk freely, so the heroine refuses help. The Duke had previously spoken about the child, but the woman had no idea that she would be able to meet the beauty in person. It is clear that this is like a gift from fate. The heroine asks about tea preferences. It's worth warming up a bit before going to dinner. Closing the door, the servant promises that he will be back soon. Come to think of it, the uncle had prepared clothes for the beauty in advance. It seems that he regards her as his daughter, which seems sweet, although not right. I wish this man was the father, but it is Hieronymus. There is a knock at the door. It seems that the maid has returned so quickly, but Prince Simon is there. Unpleasant feelings overwhelm Daphne almost immediately. She moves away, hoping that another interrogation will not begin. The boy is silent, not making a sound. It's scary because he can attack at any moment with screams, just like last time. It was strange. Instead of trying to ruin Benedito's time, Simon suddenly apologizes for what happened last time. The blonde does not want to offend the beauty, and did not want to spoil her mood even that time either. She is not weak, but anyone would be scared if they attacked him. Silence falls over the room again. The young man breaks down, asking the lady to say something. The silence is prolonged because of the unexpectedness of the words, because it did not seem that it would be possible to hear an apology. The wayward prince bowed his head and his gaze softened, which made her feel special. Everything became clear from the first words, so gratitude was heard. The hero is glad that the girl accepted the apology. He catches himself thinking that he shouldn't jump for joy and thereby show his hidden emotions. The young man is in the temple not just to apologize, because we should not forget about the heavy rain that never stopped. The hero asks if the maiden does not like the golden color of her eyes. Virgo chuckles. The other guy was pretty smart. He figured out how she knew everything so quickly. She liked purple better. Gold shows nobility and is a symbol of royalty, but the heroine is not a member of the royal family. This color reminds of a bad person. It seems like the hero is trying to talk about his experiences because he talks about how he thought people liked the shade. Listening to others without getting rid of your own fears doesn't seem like the best idea. To avoid talking, the Virgo says she's very tired. Instead of answering, the young man begins to cry. The beauty notices the tears that form a puddle on the floor. Simon reproaches himself for not inheriting the right color. The boy is sincerely jealous because he doesn't understand how it happened that he didn't get anything. He wanted to be treated well. The blonde clenches her teeth. She doesn't know how to support the man, but instead asks him to stop crying. In any case, everything will be fine if he speaks out. The girl's mother said that if you lock sorrows in your heart, you can get sick. She still can't help, but she can try to fix everything. Even in the worst-case scenario, the girl has no right to leave the child alone. He can tell everything that is on his mind. From generation to generation, the imperial family inherited golden eyes, and both the boy's father and grandfather were there. Even the godfather, the Grand Duke, also became the one who inherited the right color eyes. Only the main character is a little different. He tries to pretend that everything is fine, but his origins are constantly being questioned, which is a little disturbing. Everyone around trembles before the prince and bows their heads, but right behind his back, they keep repeating the same thing. Everyone thinks that eyes should be inherited. Simon doesn't understand what went wrong and why his genes are different. Sometimes you have to wonder if his birth was a mistake. This is not true because no one has the right to decide what kind of children they will be born with. There is nothing wrong with being born special. The lack of golden eyes should not mean that he is not the right heir. It does not change anything, even if people around the boy question it. The parents did not reject the young man and love him as he is. The prince's status is unshakable. Then you need to ask yourself what the problem is. In any case, the man will retain his title in the future and become an emperor. Then, of course, there should be no concern for the bad words that are spoken around. The hero himself is not and will not be to blame for what happened. He could not change before the moment of his appearance, and since it happened this way, this is how God himself wanted him to be. The girl says all the words she wanted to hear from someone a little earlier. Children are not to blame for being born into this world. The boy jumps up in surprise. He doesn't believe that the girl doesn't care that he doesn't have golden eyes, which are usually too important. Simon's eyes fill with tears again. He wishes he could hear other people say the same thing, but it's obviously not going to happen. After a while, the hero finally calmed down. He realized that he had just been consoled by a girl, so he immediately frowned because of the display of emotions. Rogelio apologizes once again for the way he behaved. Now he is ready to formally introduce himself and say that he is the future emperor. The girl smiles, introducing herself in return. She is the heiress of the head of Benedito and the daughter of famous merchants, but not the Grand Duke Axelius. The prince nods. He paces from side to side as he tries to formulate a sentence. There is a desire to do the honor of being Daphne's first friend. The blonde blinks her eyes in surprise, but reminds her in time that she already has a first friend, whose name is Rara. He was considered the only one. The uncle returned back to the estate. He opens the door, asking for forgiveness for the wait, because he was a little late with the butler. The man almost immediately freezes in surprise because he sees a boy right in front of him. He greets the Grand Duke, squinting slightly. Asking when Clemens arrived, the boy gets an answer to his question. The boy was originally going to visit Daphne to apologize. They had already become friends, although the maid had only been gone for about 15 minutes. The Duke was even more surprised because he didn't think that his niece would forgive someone who had scared her so much. The Crown Prince did not wish to cause harm, so he simply offered his friendship, which was immediately and joyfully accepted. Chaynard nods his head. He promises that they will discuss everything later and approaches the girl. They need to discuss some issues with Benedito before everyone goes to bed. Chloe asked for shelter for the baby for just one night because of the heavy rain, but threatened to have the man bring the girl back in the morning once everything had settled down. Next, the young man takes a hairpin from his bosom. The thing is depicted as a beautiful blue butterfly, which attracts attention almost immediately. The heroine tries to remember where she has already seen an image of the thing, so she immediately realizes that it was at the market. The hairpin was on one of the counters. This is a gift for the fact that the beauty decided to come to visit the Duke. Somehow, he noticed that the girl was looking at her. The girl is happy, and the man immediately starts crying from a good moment. The day ended well, because in the uncle's house, the girl received goodies, a gift, and warm memories. It was time to sleep. The blonde almost instantly passed out, realizing that it was time to rest. The butler informs the Duke that he has seen off the Crown Prince. He is also going to rest, but wants to convey important information. The man realized that there was someone who had said something stupid to Simon. He began to worry more and cry, and for now the suspicions fall on only one person. This man is Duke Heronis. He did not introduce himself when he brainwashed the boy, but the boy remembered everything he was told for quite a long time. Axelius sighs, clutching his head. He would like the little boy to get involved in adult affairs, but apparently the aristocrat himself left him no other choice. The child bears a huge responsibility. Since childhood, he worries about his eye color, and it is not surprising that with age, the topic becomes more sensitive. The adults have gone completely mad with power. They are just playing with little Simon, even though he hasn't done anything wrong and was born into an imperial family. The Duke can be given a warning. As soon as the man returns to the capital, he will most likely immediately start talking about this topic. This cannot be left so simply. The aristocrat will feel unpunished and will again try to spoil the young man's mood. The weather has been wonderful since the morning. The girl went for a walk with her maid and smiles, seeing a whole bunch of flowers and a beautiful sun in front of her. The lady is about to leave for home. She is handed a box of cookies, which were personally baked by the chef. The maid compliments the hairpin. The lady timidly says, "Thank you," and hears the same in response. The servants expect the little girl to visit them soon, and they set out on their journey. After some time, the carriage arrived at Benedito's estate. The uncle sang the girl a lullaby, so she wasn't scared. He has a nephew, and that's how he learned it. Rara was a little late to meet his friend, but he hurried as best he could. Running to the carriage, he catches his breath, because he had slept little. The boy is also a crybaby, because as soon as he returned, he began to sob, because he is afraid that his friend will not return. And then he will be left alone again. Chloe thanks the man for helping the girl. In any case, they can't be together because the traders always come and go quickly. If this is fate, then nothing can be changed, but the guy freezes and then asks to go on some trip together when there is such an opportunity. The beauty promises to check her plans to know when they can implement it. The Duke's face shows undisguised joy. The hairpin in her hair also attracts attention. The couple, as usual, starts arguing because the girl is denied the joy of being a mother. In the summer, the uncle invited the beauty's mother on a date. He made sure that the entrance to the temple was closed so they could go there together. The woman almost agrees, but no. She can't leave Ragnar alone and is too worried about his condition alone. This is the only stumbling block. They can all go together. Rara is afraid of other people, but she can wear glasses and a hat anyway. It's up to him because forcing yourself is not worth it anyway. The brunette has the right to go and have some fun. If something bad happens, Daphne will make sure that the offender immediately regrets it. In that case, the young man agrees. He puts on his glasses and goes with the others to the temple. Upon arrival, there is no limit to his admiration because the beauty is truly indescribable. Going together was a good idea. It was time for Daphne to go to treatment, so, taking the boy in his arms, the Duke suggested that they go wait somewhere else. The mother takes the girl to the main room. Before entering, the woman wants to hear about the physical condition one more time. Nothing will change if she hears it one more time. When it comes to health, all mothers worry. Benedito never received this kind of attention from her biological parents. Another healing session is over. The magic dissipates and the Most Holy One steps away, accepting thanks from Chloe. The woman squats down, saying she has something to discuss with the saint. While she's gone, the little girl can find Axel and Ragnar. After the treatment, I wanted to try walking. Practice is a good thing, so it is best to do this at home. The heroine will try her best. Shouts come from behind the door. The first ones heard are Simon, who declares that he is officially friends with Daphne, and Raru, who shouts that he has never heard of him. The girl's first friend is generally a female. The guy is not going to give in, so he continues to quarrel to get his point across. Urging the couple to stop their commotion, the blonde says that she is friends with both of them. In that case, they are obliged to become friends too, even if it will be a little difficult. The little girl holds out her hands and asks to shake them in honor of reconciliation. In response, she only receives a snort, while the boys turn away in different directions. The two did not say a single word to each other while the legs were being treated. Each pulled the girl towards themselves, saying that they would play with them. Daphne promised both of them that they would go for a walk, so this does not make the current situation any easier. They cannot share their friend and her time. There is nothing left to do but try to reach her uncle. Her ears and arms are already hurting from these children, pulling her in different directions. She just wants peace. The girl really needs a break, so Axel is going to leave with her. The overly active children are left alone in the main hall to fight with their eyes. The couple doesn't even know where they are heading, but they already rush forward as the first, telling each other that they will be the first. The library where the beauty arrived is a quiet place. From now on, both are obliged to remain silent and not interfere with the girl enjoying the surroundings. The heroine likes people who behave calmly even in such a situation. The boys promise that they will be the quietest, even if it is difficult. Half an hour later, the girl turns her gaze to her friends. It seems that they have finally calmed down. This, of course, cannot but please, given how the situation has developed. Daphne decided to read until her mother came to take them home. The book she chose came to hand purely by chance. The beauty noticed a beautiful butterfly on the cover. The heroine herself does not understand how it happened that she began to love butterflies. Perhaps it began from the moment when she was helped in the forest. The butterfly flew away and they never met again, but the maiden hopes that he is living well. The moment still brings a rush of warmth to her heart. The librarian said it was a children's book, but it spoke of the beginning, when God loved all living things. He decided to bless the world with the gift of birth, but every life had to die. Death is always near, and only after it can you meet the Savior. The girl is indignant in her soul that she must endure torment before that. I want to understand what exactly is said in this book, but there is nothing written on the last page. It was simply torn out by another person. The little girl wants to ask her friends for their opinion and ask them to look at how the page is torn out, but she notices that each of them has fallen asleep trying to learn wisdom. The uncle mentions Daphne again. He wants to know who the girl's father is, but the woman is in no hurry to say anything, under any circumstances. The man is busy in the fortress, so he must shut up and work. Chloe makes a donation to the temple every year. She really wants to make Benedito her heir, even if Lennox and Ricardo still exist. It will work out, and she will do it. Axel doesn't want to do anything bad, but he's just worried. The fragile and small body will have to do difficult things every day. Even the maiden barely survived. The blonde remembers a poem that was in the book with the butterfly. It was mandatory reading and had some hidden meaning. The girl mentions the moment when the baby first arrived at her estate. A child who always tries to conquer death will not be able to remain a conqueror of eternity. Daphne will definitely find her true self and understand that she wants to do something. But for now, her mother will serve as her support. The time will come when everything will be fine. God loves people who weave their own path. The servant tells the Duke that the prince has found a way to the temple. He specifically advised him to stay away from Axelius, but he ultimately did not listen. If the prince dies, the next heir will inevitably be the Grand Duke. The aristocrat Patrick makes strange movements, so the young man plans to use him to kidnap him. It is impossible to believe that the imperial family has started a game that is evil. A man wants to marry the Duke's daughter when he himself has not become a good match. Marriage will help strengthen influence. The conversation with the butler is interrupted by a little girl who bursts through the door. She smiles, saying that she missed her father. Maria asks permission to come in for a while. She doesn't want to disturb the work, but it's impossible, so her father calls the girl closer to him. The girl made a beautiful wreath of wildflowers for her father. He is truly a happy man, because such a gift from his daughter is very important. Julius comes in to get the baby. She reminds the child that she must not interfere with the Duke's work, lest they suffer losses, and looks a little irritated. The brunette runs to her mother and then hugs her around the waist. The heroine immediately blossoms into a smile, because her daughter is so sweet that you can't stay angry with her for too long. The woman apologizes to her husband for distracting him from his work, but he just nods his head. The family can't do much damage as such. As soon as the door closes, the man removes the wreath from his head. It is unthinkable to give the pretty Mary to some impudent fellow who was born into a royal family. Viscount Patrick is known to hate the emperor because of the slave trade. His fortune was cut in half and his wife left him. The man only dreams of revenge. He needs to spread rumors and pass on information. Then the Viscount will be able to arrange the kidnapping of the prince in the temple. Then they could take the opportunity to rescue the young boy. It would be good to blame Chaynard, but that would require credible rumors. That would separate Simon and the Duke. If the Knights of Heronis save the future emperor, he will listen to the man more than to the great Axelius. No one can ignore their savior. It's too hot outside. The girl doesn't really like summer, only because the weather doesn't make her want to go out. She waves her hand to bring in a little breeze. The boys run around shouting about who won and who lost. This is nothing new because it has happened before. The friends are not tired at all because the games bring them joy. It is clear that they would like to join, but the heroine does not risk it given her precarious condition. Uncle Crybaby cleared a space on the playground, and that's how the area near the temple became a playground. Simon can often play with the others. The crown prince shouldn't be running around wherever he wants, but the imperial palace is too boring. Everyone is busy, and no one needs his son because he's just getting in the way. The servants in the castle grovel, but they continue to say nasty things behind his back. The young man has already realized that they don't want to play with him, so he runs away every time. Ragnar said that the boy's eyes are beautiful because Daphne thinks so too. They are friends, and since it is true, the hero asks to say it out loud. The lady is a little nervous. She doesn't know if she is allowed to be familiar with the prince, but since she can't say anything, the young man allows her to talk about it later. Rara became a new subject of indignation for the future emperor. He noticed that his friend always wore dark glasses and said that he had poor eyesight. The friends get along for a few moments, but then they go back to what they were doing before. The girl's hat flies off her head, and she watches it gradually fly away and fall to the ground. Rara and Simon are sulking again, so the heroine carefully gets up to go get the thing herself. Now she is able to walk a short distance without the chair. While picking up something from the ground, the lady turns around because she notices a strange shadow of a person. It seems that it is Axel, but in front of her appears a strange woman in black. The lady quickly applies a cloth to her nose and mouth. She does not answer the question about her identity and watches as the heroine's eyes gradually close. The prince and Ragnar are next in line, carried into a strange wagon and thrown carelessly onto the planks. The prince lets out cries of pain. The young man does not understand what is happening. Looking to the side, he notices his friends, who are also captured by the bandits and put to sleep. Shouting to be heard, Rogelio asks, "Who are they?" The man with gray hair promises that the question will soon be answered. The Viscount asks why the boy is so afraid. He will understand what will happen to him and his friends, and that is why he will still remain conscious. Now everything has come back. Patrick is a man who was punished for the slave trade, which was forbidden in the Empire. You can't be proud of something that you usually don't want to talk about. The boy irritates the Viscount. He sold out several people, but only because of this he was thrown out, despite all that he managed to do for the Empire. The fake with the wrong eye color must keep quiet. The man reminds about the fact that the prince's friends are here because of him. The father is also to blame because he interfered with Patrick. Before setting off, the boy is also put to sleep. He is not allowed to try to escape or save his friends. It started raining outside. Simon can still feel the tips of his fingers because he was prepared for poisoning since childhood, adding small amounts of poison to his food. The blonde still can't understand how the hero knew that Clemens would be in the temple. Perhaps someone from the palace reported him. The young man wants to know where they are going, but nothing can be seen from the cart. There are about 5 kidnappers, but where they are going, there will be more. You need to think about how to protect your friends. They have done nothing wrong and do not deserve to be taken to an unknown place and tortured. If Simon fails, it will all be over. A female voice calls the boy, saying that they have not slept for a long time. Just as she was about to speak, the lady suddenly says that the carriage has arrived at its destination. They will talk later, but for now the kidnappers want to move the bodies. Everything seems to be in order. The children must be alive, at least until nightfall, and then we will see when the main customer arrives. The servant offers to look after them, but the man refuses. There is a prince among them, but 2 may burst into tears when they wake up, as they are small. Apparently the Viscount had finally left. He walked up the stairs and the children woke up almost immediately, looking around. The poison has a very weak effect on Daphne, so she woke up quite quickly, and Ragnar is completely impossible to put to sleep. They were lucky. The boy starts apologizing for being kidnapped. In fact, it's everyone's fault, because he came to play with his friends in the temple on the meadow. They can get out. Rara breaks the ropes, telling Simon to cheer up and ignoring his surprised expression. Judging by the slope of the stairs, they are underground. It is unlikely that they will be able to open the door, because they do not have the keys for this. While the couple were discussing their escape plan, the brunette quickly climbed onto the top beam. He laughs when asked how he managed it. There's a passage up there. There's no point in worrying about what happened, because they'll definitely get out without getting hurt. The bad people who kidnapped Simon will be punished. Climbing up, the girl points forward because she sees a faint light. Usually the windows are connected to the sewer, and this is a good option to get out. The blonde should get ready because she will have to crawl. Daphne still hasn't recovered, but it's better to have pain in her legs than to die in a place like this. Whatever happens, the young man won't let his friend die. The friends reached one of the rooms. There was a lot of blood and strange objects everywhere, so it was obvious that slaves were being tortured there. It seemed that the young man was starting to feel unwell. Rara's face has turned pale, and the prince himself doesn't look very well. Even the heroine herself feels bad about this picture, but she promises to hold their hands. Diva recalls her uncle's words. He was talking about a festival that will take place in the fall, and for which they have been preparing for several days. When they get out, they can go for a walk together. They will wear masks at events, buy and eat all sorts of tasty things, and read books. The girl had already escaped death, and at that time it was incredibly difficult for her, but she managed. She was alone, and here, being with friends, everything will work out. Screams are heard in the hallway. The servants have only recently noticed that the children have escaped, so there is a commotion to find them quickly. While the mercenaries are moving away, the heroes quickly run into another room. The prince decided to carry Daphne, so they sped up. A faint light can be seen in the distance. The exit is already very close, and they are about to run away. But behind the door, they hear the voice of the Viscount, who is swearing. The customer will arrive soon. There is nowhere to hide, but in this case, you can hide behind the boards that are nearby. From there, you can clearly see Patrick, but you can't see the others. The children must be found immediately. It's a good thing there was a gap in the wall behind the boards, which allowed all three to hide. The man who was going to take the children had already arrived. It was Berthold who stepped forward, greeting his acquaintance. If this man is really who Daphne thinks he is, then he is Ragnar's brother, whom Chloe did not want to look for. Sherbold forbids the man to smile. He is only trying to hide his mistake, but in fact he does not even know where the children are. The young man refuses help. He does not want anyone to tell him what to do because he himself understands perfectly well that they will find them. There was a child in the group named Ragnar. The man offered information in exchange for the boy. He was euthanized as planned. The Viscount remembers how the young man asked to wait until night, and that is why he did not kill the prince, although he really wanted to. Perhaps the man is lying, which is why Berthold grabs his neck. He hates people who lie mercilessly without even caring what others think. The body falls unconscious to the ground. Before leaving, the brunette says that he thought he would be able to kill his damn cute brother. As Sherbold gets closer to the boards, he almost notices the children. They don't want anything terrible to happen, so they try to move away and are not noticed. The guards continue to argue about whether the children would have managed to escape or not. Berthold himself knows that Ragnar is quick and has not been here for a long time. Breathing a sigh of relief, the friends are glad that the worst threat is behind them. The lead mercenary orders the others to be silent. He leans against the boards but feels something, so he moves them away, noticing the boys. Simon holds out his blade, ordering them to stay back. The hero surrounded himself with other children so as not to get injured himself. Ragnar asks his friend to put down his weapon because it could be dangerous. Snatching the thing from his hands, the boy rushes at the mercenary. He swings the weapon, twisting his legs around his neck. Rara orders his friends to run away quickly. He is confident that he can handle this on his own because he has fought before. The young man is thrown back, torn from the killer's hair. He hits his head, hearing the promise of being sent to the torture chamber when the customer arrives. Sherbold is unharmed, but his glasses have fallen to the ground. He clutches his face in horror, realizing what he's gotten himself into, trying to fix it. The prince notices that his friend has pupils like a reptile, and he sees something like that for the first time. Even ordinary eyes don't compare. The hero continues to examine his face, but the lady can't stand it any longer and screams at him louder. The sound of people stamping their feet can be heard in the distance, but no one seems to care. Even if Rara and Simon are completely different, it doesn't mean that anything will change. They have to get out together and avoid death. A man appears behind them, laughing evilly. The boys should have run while they had the chance instead of talking. It seems that the end has come, but Sherbold comes to the rescue. He grabs a knife, rushing forward at the criminal who was about to attack. The young man asks his friends to run away. He will be able to do everything necessary on his own and run away as far as possible. He thanks the girl for bringing him to his senses. Simon will take care of Daphne, but it's not possible yet, since they haven't gotten out yet. Rara is left alone against a bunch of enemies who want to hurt him. In his head, the hero asks his girlfriend for forgiveness for leaving his friend alone, because that's how it should be. They ran to the exit, and all that was left was to open the door. If they escape, it is unclear what will happen to the man who is left all alone and trying to protect himself and others. The young man tells his friend that he will come back. Sherbold looks pretty strong, but that doesn't mean anything. He still has a hard time handling that many adults on his own. The girl gave courage not only to the first friend. Everything will be fine, so you just need to wait until Simon returns, Rara. Virgo bows her head. She blames herself for being absolutely useless in such a situation and for not being able to do anything. Her thoughts are interrupted by voices coming from behind the door. The girl is afraid that there are even more mercenaries there who will definitely not let them leave. The door opens with a kick. Axel appears in the passage, shouting to the guys that he has come to save them. The young man leans down and hugs the girl. He was worried that it would be too late or that something would happen to them. The prince's cry can be heard from afar. He calls for the Duke to help, still standing with his arms outstretched to protect the already wounded brunette. Without a moment's delay, the hero orders the Knights of the Temple to capture every single one of them. They quickly realize that they are in a terrible situation. The mercenaries will not be able to stand against the knights, and now it becomes clear. The blonde catches His Highness as he falls rapidly to the ground. It's Axel's fault because he's the one in charge of the temple grounds. If anyone finds out, there will be a showdown and suspicions. His Majesty does not suspect the Duke of anything because he knows that he would not do such a thing. There is nothing wrong with that. Before leaving, the young man approaches Rara. His hand has already been bandaged, so his condition has improved significantly. He hands over the glasses. The hero apologizes for talking about glasses over and over again. In fact, he doesn't care about the color of the boy's eyes or pupils. The blonde rushes to meet her friends. She still can't move too quickly, but she was very worried that they wouldn't come back. There is no point in crying, because now everything is in perfect order. The girl should calm down and digest the situation, looking for some positives. Lennox, too, somehow ended up in this place. He says that all the criminals have been captured and the crown prince has gone to rest separately in a carriage. As soon as the man heard the latest news, he immediately rushed over. He had no right to miss what happened and see his sister. Mama stayed home and Ricardo is helping the Grand Duke clean up. They should all go back together and not worry so much. The young man went to the criminals who had been caught. There were 13 people there, while 11 were dead. Because of these people, the youngest was very scared and almost hurt. They were going to kill her, which makes her incredibly angry. I would like to cause them all pain that is unbearable, but there are many eyes around. It can wait, because it is unrealistic to ask for such a thing. If Chloe were here, everyone would be dead in seconds. The building starts to burn. Death won't happen right away, so the criminals can enjoy the moment. The knights standing outside with Ricardo watch as the house is engulfed in flames. This man is truly a great magician. One of the acquaintances raises his protest. The Viscount is dead, but the territory is still his, which means starting a fire is not the best idea. No one locked the mercenaries in there. The front door was open, so all they had to do was get out, and then the knights would catch them from outside. Even if someone loses their life in the fire, each of them can still be beheaded for treason and threats against the heir. The man keeps showing up, which is annoying. If the problem is in the building owned by the Viscount, then Benedito's family will simply buy it out. There are no more objections, but something interesting remains. On the knights' cloaks is the coat of arms belonging to Duke Hieronymus. As the warriors said, they encountered the Knights of the Temple by chance. The leader noticed suspicious people and pursued them to the last. Too suspicious because there are too many coincidences. It is obvious that Patrick was involved in the kidnapping of children, but the prince had no idea who killed him. Perhaps this whole mess has something to do with the Duke, or it could easily have been someone else. The prince and princess are engaged, but Mary has not appeared at the temple. Only a few months have passed. Everything that happened has long since settled down, and the long-awaited autumn has arrived, which will bring the festival with it. The girl is sitting at the table in front of a piece of paper. She is writing to Simon, saying that things are going great. They have already come up with masks for the upcoming event. After that summer night, an article about the kidnapping of the heir appeared in the newspapers, and the security at the temple increased several times. The rest of the attackers were sentenced to death. Uncle said that the emperor paid compensation, but that was nothing. Chloe was furious. She felt that since they were the Benedito family, who had suffered as well, they should at least get an apology. The blonde doesn't want to go into details, so she just says that she's glad they'll see each other at the festival. Afterwards, the mother promised to take the baby with her to work. The letter is finished. The Virgin is about to go for a walk, but someone beats her to it, knocking on the door with his hand. It turns out to be Lennox, who wants to talk. It's amazing how Daphne can now walk without any problems. The young man suggests going to the living room to show her the surprise they've prepared. The uncle hands over a box, which is immediately opened. Inside are beautiful masks of different colors. The butler smiles. He colored them exactly as the young lady asked and handed them over as soon as he finished. Simon will be at the event, so it can't be good. Surviving and overcoming all the adversity is the most important thing. On the day of the festival, the couple went to the Empire. The friend never told what kind of mask he would be wearing, thus annoying his friends. The blonde tries to cheer up Rara. Perhaps it's because His Highness wanted to arrange a surprise. Ragnar perked up a bit. He was depressed for a while after the spraying until he got the mask. On the day of the kidnapping, Sherbold saw his older brother, which should have crushed him. The boy's heart is big. She hopes that he will not be hurt. Daphne just wanted to hug the boy, but her older brother put his hand forward, warning them not to cross the line. At that moment, the beauty felt joy and did not suspect that she would meet the daughter of her enemy. Upon arrival at the festival, the couple immediately put on masks. Through them, everything around is clearly visible, although it seemed that this would not happen. Uncle says that the children have good masks, but the prince himself worries about them. He assures that you need to wear one like his. The lion is the symbol of the Clemens Empire. To avoid spoiling the young man's mood even more, the lady says that they both look cool. They have to have fun. The last memories weren't the best, so they should be replaced with happy ones. The Duke leads the children to a stand that contains a variety of sweets and chicken. They must try everything. All candied fruits taste the same, but a second later, the lady takes her words back. A strawberry appears before her. The children begin to gather around Benedito to tell the story of the shop. The strawberries are stored in a magical warehouse. After a while, the assembled group begins to introduce their names one by one and say that they are glad to meet you. There is no point in denying it, because such an event is really a good place to make new friends. Rara and Simon arrive just in time. The new acquaintances offer to play hide and seek, but the prince refuses. Clemens believes that they can have fun on their own. Just the three of them. They don't need other people to help create the atmosphere. The blonde disagrees. She wants to play with everyone, but she knows that someone will have to carry her, because running is still impossible. Another squabble begins. Rara wants to carry the girl on her back, but the heir is taller, so he thinks differently. After a while, everything got better. None of the adults complain about the noise. Ragnar doesn't complain anymore, and they just enjoy the moment. The children are getting ready to have a rest. One of them notices the children from the orphanage just around the corner, who also want to play. These are the same people who bullied Daphne. No one will recognize her, and she will not hide in a dark corner so as not to get it. The girl doesn't really want to get involved with those who hurt her before. They've already started the game, so nothing will work out. Simon turns away in surprise. He thought his girlfriend would agree, but overall he thinks pretty much the same. The friends' conversation is interrupted by a girl in a beautiful dress. She asks for permission to play together. You always have to introduce yourself first. So Maria says her name. I just want to play with people I know. The little girl asks if the beauty can hide herself, because the boy will be uncomfortable. He assures that Daphne will not interfere. Maria shouldn't be interested in what's going on between them. A friend will never become a burden. Rara calms down after the girl explains everything. She tells the brunette that playing hide and seek wasn't the best idea they ever had. The heroine starts apologizing. It's her first time playing with someone, so she asks for forgiveness for saying something wrong. Simon points to the Duke, who looks bored. They're leaving now, even if it's too early. He wants to spend time with his family. The brunette doesn't understand what happened. It seems that it's all because of her, so she asks to play a little more. The girl doesn't understand why her friend is acting like this. It seems he knows this person, and judging by her clothes, the little girl is an aristocrat. The realization comes quickly, but the heroine tries to erase it from her memory. She runs to the Duke, who takes her in his arms. Uncle is not dad, but he remains an honorary candidate for this role. The lady asks if the acquaintance knows Maria. After a pause, the heir says that she is most likely his future bride, who is a descendant of Duke Hronis. The girl really wanted to play with everyone. When her mother saw the girl off to town, she promised that she would have a lot of fun because she was sociable. The boys didn't like the girl. She knows that Julius couldn't be wrong, so she invites the children from the orphanage to play together. The others look on with disapproval. Not everyone wants to play with such children, who are quite strange, but in the end, everyone agrees. On the way back, the heroine was only thinking about who could become Simon's wife. Obviously, it was Maria Hronis. The maiden did not think that they would meet so easily. Ragnar will stay with the beauty, so Clemens will definitely marry. Marie grew up to be a bright woman without flaws. Simon looked at her with love, but hated her passionately. In the future, having discarded the exorcism, he will be able to convey his feelings. I don't want Rara to disappear somewhere. The lady herself doesn't notice how she shudders when someone takes her hand and asks how she feels. It's nice to know there are friends around who will worry. There is no problem. So the lady lies. Finally, the carriage arrived at Daphne's mother's workplace. This is the building of the main trade guild in the Empire, which is known. There is chaos inside. People are running from side to side, but at the same time, they perform all the tasks set before them just perfectly. In order not to distract the others, the young man goes straight to Salvador. He is one of the most important assistants who is glad to see the Duke. The man squats down and greets Daphne. She looks like Axelius's daughter, even if that's not quite right. Putting the girl down, he suggests going to Chloe. She's not here, so the building won't be inspected. They drive far and wide through their uncle's territories. They all belong to him alone. As she steps out of the carriage, the lady does not know which hand to accept, and decides to accept both. The mother meets the children and immediately takes the girl in her arms. She asks how the day went and is happy that everything is fine. Next time they go to the main building together. But this time, there is one very important matter in this garden. Under the tree they are standing next to, the mother's memories are hidden. They are buried underground. It was time to dig up the box. It had to happen either sooner or later, so they chose the golden mean. 10 years ago, during the autumn festival, a treasure trove of important things was buried there as a keepsake. Axel and Salvador also left some important things. After 10 minutes, a box appears in the man's hands. The little thing was filled with precious things that hold memories. In the future, it became something more important than everything else. The first thing they do is take out the blade and the sleeping mask. There is also a strange cord there, which is cut off on one side. The things are safe because of magic. When the boy was young, he had trouble sleeping, and a sleep mask helped. The dagger that keeps Chloe alive was a gift from Axelius. The Duke buried the wishing bracelet. It protected the man, but then broke, so it was buried as a memory. The adults discuss their past. Everyone unanimously agrees to leave them alone to think about their past. While the boys were walking, Simon suggested doing the same. The best thing would be to find important things and bury them too. The description of the painting, how it will all be, sounds not bad. The box will be opened the same way in 10 years. Almost immediately, the children began discussing what to put inside and where exactly to bury it. The best option is to go to Daphne. They will let strangers in there, since he is a prince and this is not some kind of fortress. The blonde nods in agreement. In that case, they will prepare everything necessary before doing anything. After much thought, Daphne decided that she would write letters for everyone. They would be special and with messages that mattered. Expressing your feelings on paper and passing them on to the future is much easier than it seems. Virgo managed it quite quickly. As soon as friends read the messages, they will immediately become happy, because they will remember their adventures. Opening the door of the box, the lady looks at the seal. It was an important thing for the owner of the shelter, and it can also be buried. We arrived at the picnic exactly at the time everything was scheduled. Uncle hadn't slept well, so he fell asleep almost on the go. Everyone around them wants to sleep too, as if the sleepiness is contagious. The couple couldn't sleep because they thought about the walk almost all night. The Duke cried because the children were worried that he hadn't had enough sleep. Sometimes his reaction is a little funny. The man suggests going into the house and sleeping, but he is assured that this is not the best idea. They can stay where they are. 15 minutes later, the blonde fell asleep. He started snoring, so there was no need for a second check. Putting all the necessary things in one bag, the girl says that everything needs to be buried. They can also use magic. What was done will remain a little secret that will not be known. In 10 years, it will all be over. While the boys were rejoicing, Benedito wondered why it was so easy to carry out such a thing on the territory of the mansion. It seems that the uncle had not slept all this time. The boys were too noisy, so it is not surprising that he woke up. The girl turns away, sighing. She's sure that Chaynard won't tell anyone, but she'll have to hide the fact that they were discovered for 10 years. Time began to fly even faster than usual. Winter came, bringing with it the cold that you want to forget about. A whole year had already passed, and a lot had happened during that time. It seemed to the lady that this quiet life was a dream that would end. In the park, the couple spotted their mother and her brothers. They disappeared from sight rather quickly, and the rain only made the situation worse. The mud is too sticky to move normally. The beauty already regrets that everything turned out this way, because she cannot move her legs. The girl doesn't want to become a burden and ask for help, but her legs aren't yet used to the load that's been placed on her. Ragnar himself noticed that the beauty was uncomfortable. He stopped, asking if his friend wanted to be carried on his back. The boy always helps out for no reason, and this time even the rain doesn't bother him at all. I agree. The girl sits on the boy's back. She asks for forgiveness, but smiles, making it clear that everything is fine. On the way, the friends manage to meet a fox cub, which is much smaller than in the pictures. It seems that he is not okay. The baby is still breathing, but because it is in the wild, it does not eat normally to gain strength. In this case, the baby gets the apple. Strangely, the fox liked the treat that was offered to him. Rara left the animal an umbrella and they moved on. Ahead of them, there was a fork that led in different directions. The little fox appeared again, as if from nowhere. All this time, he followed the rescuers, and now he runs to the left. The baby stops only to look at the people who have stopped. He wants them to follow him. The thickets become much denser, but ahead a huge cage appears, around which the whole family has gathered. Mother notices those who have arrived and exclaims in surprise. They were just curious, so they had to follow forward. It was possible to get lost by chance, but they steadfastly endured all the hardships and were able to reach the finish line. Lennox smiles as Ragnar says that those two are constantly creating new problems for themselves that are completely unnecessary. Pointing his hand to the side, the young man asks his friend what kind of fox it is. She has completely forgotten about its presence. The lady completely forgot that there were many dungeons in the second part of the original, but Rara always claimed that he was not afraid of getting lost. He was helped by a fox guide. This animal must go home. Asking her mother for permission, the lady hears her immediately agree. Raising someone is a huge responsibility, but each of them promises to take care of them and do everything they can to make their life better. Chloe nods. Don't forget about the importance of life and treat the fox as a friend and a new member of the family. The baby makes funny sounds, so they are going to name him Kiki. Caring is the most important thing in the world. Changing the subject, the blonde points her finger at a cage next to her that looks rather strange. She doesn't understand what it is. This is a dragon prison. There was a legend that a dragon lived many years ago on the mountain, but according to the tale, the forces that attacked the country were punished. Everyone paid for their crimes right in this prison. Chloe reminds that it is better not to go there. Babies love to get into bad things, but that's not what you want to do. Once you enter, you can't leave the cage without the dragon's permission. The doors are open, but then they won't open again. Rara walks forward, reaching out her hand to the bars, which are very close. Ricardo grabs the boy by the arms just in time. The family starts asking if he's okay, but the prison just seems familiar. The feeling of closeness does not leave the young guy, but he has already been scolded for the way he behaves and where he is getting into. Kiki was also afraid of prison, so the lady was determined never to enter it. Soon she would have to disobey the prohibitions. The night, as usual, brought with it many thoughts. The lady cannot believe that tomorrow will be the anniversary of Freyne's death. The girl doesn't even know where the body is, so thinking that her mother knows, she goes to her office asking permission to enter. Stopping right in front of the desk, the beauty fidgets. Noticing the problems, Chloe offers milk to calm down. The girl added a little honey, thereby making the drink much tastier and more soothing than it was before. Gathering her strength, the lady asks what happened to her birth mother's body. She is still worried. The Benedito family took care of that. There are many oddities in the accusation against Freyne, since she was punished too harshly for a princess of the Oswald Empire. The blonde freezes in horror. She didn't know about such details, all the time thinking that there was no point in going deeper. The maiden tries to calm down, asking why the princess received such a cruel punishment and why no one helped her. Daphne herself couldn't do anything because of her age, but the adults could. There is a civil war going on in Oswald. Ever since Freyne's imprisonment, the girls' brothers had been waging a war for the throne, and it had been a rather bloody battle to the death. The crime must be serious, because in the original, people hated her so much that they even killed her daughter. The girl really doesn't understand what the princess did to the people from the slums that made them so angry with her. It all happened 8 years ago, when people started disappearing. It seemed that Freyne sacrificed them to the cursed wife of Heronis. She had been following the Duke all this time, and everyone decided that she was blinded by jealousy. This can't be. The baby still remembers the hands that held her tenderly. The woman was locked in the tower, and she kept calling for her husband. There are indeed many strange things about this case. Chloe doesn't believe that it was all true, so she conducts her own investigation. There was not enough evidence during the trial, but the verdict was still passed. It was as if the judges were trying to finish quickly. Freyne's death is just a piece of the puzzle for the couple's happy ending. If it weren't for Julius, the Empire could have helped her not die so painfully. Benedito hugs the crying girl. She promises to make her as happy as her own mother and to do everything possible. Soon all the small details of the investigation will be revealed. The girl has never heard of betrayal, so this also surprises her. Axelius enters the room, apparently standing outside the door, and discusses with Chloe his meeting with Simon at the temple, asking if they talked about Freyne. He wants to discuss everything later, but the blonde starts putting the puzzle together in his head. That's why they didn't tell him who the baby's father was. She is the daughter of Frayne. The young man's face seems to freeze with hatred or disappointment, so Daphne hurries to her room. It seems that the man is angry or disappointed with Benedito. The relationship will never be the same again, and this will not fix anything. Entering the room, the young lady notices Kiki at her feet. He woke up by pure chance, but he helps a lot. The girl is glad that he is there. Before going to bed, the lady decided to go to Rara. He knows exactly how to cheer you up, so she knocks on the door, watching the sleepy expression on his face. Daphne began to cry incessantly. Perhaps she had just had a bad nightmare, but the young man promised to dispel all doubts. There is pitch darkness all around, taking over the consciousness, but the boy shines so brightly, lighting the way out to the light. He will always be there, just like the fox. The blonde starts crying again. He can't believe that Chloe dared to lie, saying that this was her daughter and not the villain who was in the tower. The heroine does not see any problems. This is not her biological child, but she is also considered a daughter, because everyone has already gotten used to her. Axelius doesn't understand how it is that he is not trustworthy. Perhaps it is because the man is a member of the imperial family. Chaynard has always been proud of his noble origins, but in front of this woman he feels terribly ashamed. Axel doesn't want to force his love into anything, but simply wants to receive honesty that goes both ways. Starting the story, the lady mentioned that the little girl found her herself. The beatings in the orphanage were too much after. She was simply thrown out into the slums. Those around her could not leave the baby alone, and that is why she lived in terrible conditions that are not suitable for a child. Daphne injured her leg while fulfilling the request with the flower and almost died, but said that this was not the worst thing. An innocent child begged for help. She was simply trying to escape death. And if Daphne had revealed her secret, life would have become much more difficult. The woman knows that Axel can be trusted, but because of what was happening, she was very worried and could not tell the truth. The girl has another nightmare. It's as if someone is catching up with her, and at the last moment she wakes up, jumping up. It's just a dream, because it's not so scary to fall into someone's hands. The fox cub was also a little scared because of how his mistress was behaving. Rara was sleeping nearby but never woke up. Lennox, checking on him, said the boy had a high temperature. The young man regrets that he won't be able to go to the show. He also wanted to see Simon, but now nothing will happen. Virgo doesn't know how she can leave completely alone, but she has been waiting for this performance for a very long time, so she can't refuse. Extending his hand to his friend, the brunette promises that everything will be fine, hoping that his friends will have fun even without him. The kid was also looking forward to going to the city, but he still thinks about Benedito. She will be back at the estate very soon. There was silence in the carriage on the way to their destination. They had always chatted amiably before, but that would no longer happen. Starting the conversation, the girl says that she did not want to deceive. Mom is not guilty either, because the heroine herself asked to come to her house. The girl speaks as if she did something bad. The child of a sinner is not guilty of anything because he builds his own life. The lady still thinks that nothing changes because she remains the daughter of the villain. She must be hated and wish the worst. Jumping up from his seat, the blonde asks again, but the little girl shrinks. She thought that she was about to be hit. It's a habit that was left over from the orphanage, and it's embarrassing. The boy didn't want to do anything bad and will keep the secret until the very end. Half an hour later, the carriage arrived at the Empire. The girl quickly jumps out of it to see Simon. They haven't seen each other for a long time, but Ragnar hasn't arrived. He has a high temperature, but it looks like a common cold that will go away soon. This simple conversation helped to calm down. The lady is happy that she has friends and hopes that this will never end. The Duke, upon entering the theater, notices the paladins gathered in one place. It is necessary to sort this out, but leaving the children alone is not the best solution. When the man finally leaves, the young man asks about their quarrel. In fact, it is impossible to tell all the details, so the girl just smiles. The show begins. In one country, there lived a man and a woman who loved each other. Their meeting was fate, which brought the lovers together. When they wanted to confess, the jealous woman began to interfere with love. She used all sorts of curses to separate the couple. While pursuing the couple, she killed quite a few people, but soon the criminal was put behind bars. The inseparable lovers overcame all the hardships and lived happily ever after. This story is about a villain who got her comeuppance and a rewarded bride who earned her place. The story seemed disgusting. Clemens agrees with the unpleasantness of the story, but also notices the state of Daphne, who hangs her head. Duke Hieronis returned just in time. He noticed His Highness, glad that he had also come to see the performance. The man notices a young lady behind him. She is shy, so the acquaintance will take place some other time. No one will recognize her for sure because a lot of time has passed. Julius runs out from behind the stage, saying he's worried. Darling runs away pretty quickly without even explaining where exactly he's going. The woman notices the young prince and immediately understands what exactly was the reason for his quick departure. The brunette is glad to meet you. She is the duke's wife and also a much more polite person than her husband. This woman is the main character. It was because of her that Frayne died, because she was the one who fell in love with the man and took him away. Maria, who had obviously been there the whole time, runs towards them. She really enjoyed the performance they were watching. Simon hears that the show is being put on by the Heronis family. It's a dubious entertainment that's worthless. People shouldn't forget such a story, but the young man doesn't think so. No one has the right to reveal the family's private life. Maria tries to resist. The performance was staged especially for her mother, because her father fell in love with her at first sight. The girl felt as if she had been doused with cold water. She did not know that the Duke had fallen in love with his wife first, forgetting about Frayne. The boy asks if the man has children from a previous marriage. There was a girl in the shelter, but she is the villain's daughter, not his. The hero forgot who he was originally married to. That child died in an orphanage, and if she had been sent to her mother's homeland, this would not have happened. It's sad that a 7-year-old child died in a fire, even though he didn't deserve it. Julius's mouth drops open in surprise, not understanding anything. The warehouses suddenly burned down, and only one baby died. The lady quietly asks her father what would have happened if that man had still been alive. If the child is still alive in this world, then it is a pity. She deserves not to be among normal people. Better to die young than to bear the sins of one's parents all one's life. This expression seems absurd, especially coming from the lips of Heronis. Daphne jumps up and runs out of the room. She doesn't understand why she hated only Julissa, because it was the Duke who brought her mother to death. Running out onto the road, the little girl trips. She falls to the ground with a crash and only then notices the rushing horses. The prince noticed that his friend seemed not to be herself. The relationship with the Grand Duke had suddenly changed, and she sat sadly throughout the entire performance. The brunette just snorts, not even paying attention to the girl's departure. According to him, a well-behaved child would not behave like that. Frowning, the man gives advice that one should not let in someone who is not suitable in status, so as not to regret it in the future. The young man is able to figure everything out himself. If the interlocutor wants to make his daughter a princess, there is no point in putting on such nasty performances. Without another word, the hero grabs his wife and daughter and leaves the room. He looks insulted and humiliated. Watching them leave, the prince wonders how they could be so shameless. They should have thought before they acted. The young man goes outside to look for Daphne. He doesn't know where she could have disappeared to so suddenly. A crowd of people attracts attention. A great duke lies on the road, covering a little girl with himself, thus saving her. The heroine still can't comprehend that she almost died. She is afraid to imagine what could have happened if all this had been true. The girl realizes that the book is trying to restore the plot. That evening, the cheerful Rara also fell ill, which became a sign. The play was directed by Duke Heronis and was about Frayne, who had long been imprisoned inside the castle in a tower. The girl tried to escape and almost got hit by a cart. The realization of what could have happened is even scary. Death is still near, no matter how hard the heroine tries to avoid it. She understands that nothing is okay, so she cannot answer Simon. If the friend knew that the baby was the villain's daughter, they would most likely be separated. It's scary to admit what is true. All this time, things were as bad as they could be. The lady pretended that everything was fine, but in fact, it was not so at all. The one who became the light for her is Ragnar, who is left all alone. She misses him, even though she saw him only recently. After a while, the lady opens her eyes. She didn't even realize how she got home, but her mother's voice brought her to her senses. The doctor said that the girl was not hurt, but in fact, there were still worries. The heroine asks where Sherbold is. Ragnar is resting in a separate room. The blonde does not want to stop because she urgently needs to see the one she misses. The room is empty. The lady does not know where the boy has gone because he promised to wait where he was when she left for the festival. The girl notices her friend in the corner. He looks at her with pitiful eyes, but then tells Daphne to run while she still has a chance. It's all too strange to fully comprehend, but within seconds the guy is already rushing forward with a knife, still begging to run away. Rika, who noticed everything that was happening, ran into the room in time. He throws the boy back with a magic circle. The blonde is afraid that there is no way out. She realized that she is still inside the story that is trying to change everything. Ragnar wanted to kill his friend. Perhaps Frine really was a terrible sinner. Or maybe she was made that way for the sake of heroes. If this is true, then Daphne too must become a sacrifice for the sake of the happy future of others in this story. Tears are streaming down her cheeks, but the lady still doesn't want to give in. She remembers the promise she made when she left the shelter. The lady will definitely change the plot of the original. She is obliged to make people around her happy. Lennox and Ricardo discuss what happened to the mother. She says that her daughter is still sleeping, but Ragnar, on the contrary, is worried. The magic has ended, but now, as if again, everything has returned to normal. Such a puzzle drives the young man crazy. Rara can't trust himself because he's afraid of hurting someone. He decided to lock himself in a cage. It's all because of the heroine's greed. She tried to stay close to the one who was supposed to be in charge, and now fate has punished her for it. As she leaves the estate, the girl sits Kiki down on the ground, asking him to take her to the cage where her friend is sitting. It is necessary to fix what happened before it is too late. The boy blames himself, but in fact does not understand that it is not his fault. Noticing Daphne, the young man almost immediately begins to apologize. He did not want to spoil anything or attack. Forcing Ragnar to listen attentively, the maiden reveals that she has known their future for a long time and what it should be. She knows for sure that she will not die and will live happily ever after. These words serve more as a consolation. Daphne was once very afraid of death, so she ran away to the place where she definitely had the right to survive. In the future, the young man will become an heir and will also become close to another girl and live with her in marriage. She knows all this in detail. It sounds ridiculous, but that was the plot of one of the books. It's not a true story, so Sherbold doesn't immediately believe it. The girl ran from death for a long time and thought that everything was over. But now it is clear that if you want to change the future, you need to change everything. If the lady stays with her friend, he will definitely try to kill her. The guy doesn't understand how a friend in her right mind could talk about something like that and doesn't believe that they are in a book. The boy screams desperately. He does not intend to kill Benedito because he considers her someone important. Ragnar has every right to be offended by the words that will be said, but in reality, they are not destined to be together. Rara still tries to say something, but the girl interrupts him. The fatigue from screaming is growing and she just wants to live. I want to escape from the worries about when she will die. To do this, I need to change the merciless fate that is in the way. In this case, the brunette is obliged to close the cage. This is what he can do to disappear once and for all. Benedito shouldn't cry over trifles. It's hard for a guy to see the tears of someone he cares about more than himself. The cage closes. Not understanding what to do next, the girl rushes from the place to call someone for help. The girl woke up the next morning with her mother asleep next to her. She doesn't remember how she ended up in bed. I remember how she spoke to Rara when they went into the forest. After that, all memories are sucked into the fog, which does not allow you to remember anything. Horror covers her mind, so the little girl jumps out of bed. They urgently need to do something to get the young man. Helping the girl get dressed, the woman promises that everything will be fine. They can go together with Lennox to get into the forest. There was no cage in the forest, only a trace of blood in that very place. It was as if the lady had killed her friend in order to survive on her own. If the girl hadn't tried to change her fate at all, everything would have been fine. Now it's unclear where the young man disappeared to. Chloe understands that Ragnar did wrong. If only he had seen Daphne when she was crying in the forest, he would have understood everything without any questions. The woman wanted the boy to have good memories, but for some reason things turned out differently. They didn't succeed, and this is someone else's problem. Axelius knows that his daughter is not well. He still does not know how he can help, so he looks helpless even in this small matter. Turning to Chloe, the young man asks if everything is okay if the girl is not with her now and left her completely alone in the room. The blonde knows that her daughter is sleeping and she needs to finish her work before she wakes up. Later, she will take care of the rest of the important papers. Winter should be less of a hassle, but the problem is completely different. The family has decided to leave the Clemens Empire. The girl was ill for a long time and got back on her feet only a week later. She does not know why everything happened to Ragnar and not to her. Noticing her mother, the little girl immediately hugs her. She sincerely asks for forgiveness for all the wrong things she did. The girl will still remain the heir, and there is no point in saying that she is stupid. One mistake does not mean anything at all. Smiling, the mother asks the little girl if she would like to visit outside the empire. A trip would help to unwind. The girl is unhappy being in one place, and even more so, such a large guild cannot stay in one place. They can explore the continent as a family to see what they all need most. It may be considered an escape, but it is still important. Mom doesn't get a precise answer, and instead, she is asked about what they talked about that very night in the office. Many corpses were found in the basement of Duke Hieronis' estate, but no one attempted to cast a curse. There was no evidence of Freyne's guilt, and the servants could say nothing definite. The trial will end suspiciously quickly. This is still in doubt, given the treachery of the man. If the criminal had been the girl's father, he would have been able to defend himself and not receive such punishment and then death. With such power, the man did nothing, even if he no longer loves the villain. This is because he himself invented the accusations. Chloe apologizes for not being able to look into the case a little better to understand exactly what to do next. It was as if someone was deliberately interfering with the investigation, trying to lead it astray. Perhaps the original is trying to return everything to its original state. If, by the will of the book, the villainous mother died, it will be difficult to avoid the fate written on paper. Let's hope that everything can be fixed. Freyne's name will be cleared and the girl herself will live happily. There is a long way to go. Now the girl will no longer be afraid of death. Ragnar is dead, and it can't get any worse because everything will only get better. Now the lady is going to not only survive, but also protect everyone else. Previously, the goals were a little different. That's why the lady has to become stronger and cope with everything. She offers Chloe to go to Oswald. Simon received the news almost immediately the next day. He couldn't believe that Rara was gone just like that. Daphne, in turn, cannot meet the guy because she and her family are leaving the Empire for another country. Turning to the Duke, the young man tries to find out the truth. From his expression, it becomes clear that he knew everything from the very beginning. Dressing quickly, the boy tries to escape quickly to visit the girl before it's too late. The family left the Empire in the evening. Axelius went to Benedito's estate immediately after receiving the letter. But in the end, nothing worked because there was no one there. Something happened that day, but what exactly is still unclear. The boy's eye color and pupils were always like that because of the illness, but perhaps there was something else. If such a sudden death was caused by illness, then it is sad. But for some reason, the family hastily packed their things, refusing a funeral. Something is definitely wrong, but Chaynard has no right to tell someone else's secret, which they are already trying with all their might to keep so that everything will end. The young man remembers what happened the day before. His friend had a strange reaction to the play about the villain. Everything became much more scary when Hieronis arrived. The girl seemed to be afraid of him or tried her best to hide. It's hard to believe that Daphne isn't the guildmaster's biological daughter. Amber eyes are common among nobles, but only the Duke has that color. Realizing that the solution is already very close, the young man asks when the orphanage burned down. It happened approximately last winter. If that child did survive, it means that the blonde is Freyne's biological daughter, who died in the tower. Having learned about this, the man could have kicked them out, but this is not true. He was stunned but did not think to do anything strange. Benedito wanted to leave quietly, so as not to disturb His Highness. Everything was known in advance, but nothing was said. The boy hangs his head, almost crying. He had to protect his girlfriend if he couldn't protect his friend. This sunny child made the prince a full-fledged person who is not so afraid of the world. Now everything became clear, but the girl had already left. Duke Hieronis has arrived at the palace for the engagement. The prince goes ahead so that they will not be suspected of anything. The guy has to protect his girlfriend, among other things, so he sits silently, thinking about a plan of what needs to be done. After a pause, the young man says that he wants to cancel his engagement to Maria. Mom doesn't understand what the problem is. This family is quite important in the aristocratic society and won't be just a burden in the royal palace. If you want gold, you should only look for the most shiny. The boy speaks as if he knows another golden-eyed girl. Compared to Maria, this person is better. They really can't even be compared, because her eyes shine brighter than anyone else's. The Duke jumps up from his seat, starting to shout. It's impossible that this is true because they are clearly trying to insult him. After such words, the family has no more desire to get involved with the prince. They will not be seen on the castle's threshold again, and this is for the best. A smile appears on the young man's face almost immediately. Since Sherbold is no more, Benedito himself will be the one to protect the future emperor. A dragon of enormous size flies into the sky. He noticed that something happened and heard a strange noise, so he immediately became wary. The young man snorts as he turns into a human. It's hard to believe that there are people left who want to hunt dragons. A cage appeared in the forest, which seemed to have been transported from somewhere in a distant empire. There was a man inside. This is a baby dragon that is in human form. It lies unconscious or just sleeps. It looks like the baby has entered the second stage of awakening. The man examines the body from all sides to make sure. The dragons are almost all extinct, but somehow this one survived. He promises to save the boy while it is still possible. The brunette remembers coughing and seeing blood. At this point, his eyes open and the light hits his face brightly, forcing him to squint. The man clearly remembers being in a dragon's cage, but now somehow he is lying in a soft bed in a strange house. The man with blue hair smiles. He thought it would take another 5 years to wake up, but in the end, it all happened pretty quickly. An argument ensues. The boy doesn't know his race, so he doesn't understand what they're talking about. He's not a dragon. It's obvious that the hero doesn't realize it yet, but he's not really human. It's an illusion that should be maintained. Dragons are a great race, superior to humans in everything, and he belongs to them. This is not nonsense or fiction. There is no point in denying it. The eyes are the best proof of this because the pupils are like those of a reptile. The young man does not know his age and seems to have grown too slowly. Usually dragons grow immediately after waking up, and before that the boy had not even been sick. But then his temperature rose. Everything described is a symptom of awakening, which is the most obvious of all the others. Ragnar has also changed noticeably. He jumps out of bed and runs to the mirror, where he is overcome with horror at the picture he sees in the mirror. The boy has been asleep for only 3 years. Although he looks like an adult, he is still a child who needs to be taught the right path. It is not clear why the man is helping, but according to him, this is just an old man having fun before his death. The young man promises to teach how to be a dragon and how to not need anything. From now on, he is a mentor, and although it will take a long time, it will be worth it. The boy immediately refuses. He needs to find Daphne, who gave him the desire to live. He wants to be with her forever. The mentor had already heard of the union between a dragon and a human, but a human was given a shorter lifespan, so a seal was created. Thanks to it, life can be divided into 2. Interest awakens in the brunette's eyes. He wants to know more, so he asks how to create this seal himself. If a man tells you right away, it won't be interesting. First, you should start with the basics, and then you can move up a notch. Sherbold nods his head. He will do what he promised to do, thereby helping his friend survive. Daphne's future seems too bleak, but if you try, it can be changed, at least in this way. 2 years passed, and they dragged on rather slowly. The family now spent much time outside the Clemens Empire. The girl felt bad, but now everything is fine, because she was looking forward to this trip. Now she is already 13 years old. They arrived at the port city of Jaxed. The air around them is pleasant and salty. You want to breathe it day and night for the rest of your life. There is a sea nearby, so it is necessary to urgently take shelter from the wind. Ricardo puts a cloak on his sister, thereby saving her and Kiki, who is sitting in a hood. Mom went to sort out the luggage. She asked the family to meet her in the living room as soon as they arrived. The hotel is expensive because it is located on the main road leading to Oswald. The town is small, but there are many people, so everything is so luxurious. Ricardo switches from admiring the buildings to saying that this city has a coliseum. They have to visit it. The guys promise to tell everything along the way. The girl is on the mend, but it's best to try to be careful. This arrangement does not suit the beauty. She thinks that she feels great, so she does not want to put up with anything. Rika promised to tell more, but he simply ran away because Chloe needed help. Only the fox remained. It had been 5 years since the family had begun traveling outside the Clemens Empire. Each time it had been incredibly interesting. As soon as the lady agreed to the trip for the first time, Mom shifted all responsibilities to Salvador, who did not expect such a turn of events. The Benedito family set out on a journey across the mainland. Then they crossed the ocean, and now they are heading to Oswald. The brothers are improving their alchemy, and the girls have not had even one thought to return home for 5 years. In different empires, Chloe solved the issues with food supplies, and the maiden visited temples to cure her leg. Now everything will be fine. At first, the lady was afraid that she would never recover, but in the end, this turned out to be completely untrue. Simon should be fine too. The girl left silently, but he still continues to pass letters through the guild years later. The heroine is not ready to read the messages. I would like to apologize one day, but for now this is the best option. The girl hopes that it won't be too late. The leg went so well that it's worth preparing for the second part of the original. With a romance threatening to kill Daphne, she promised herself to develop powers to protect everyone around her. While the lady keeps her memories, something needs to be done. The information must be used wisely. In the second part, Maria and her brother go to Oswald to investigate the dungeons. It was there that the girl revealed her identity and entered the academy. Before the Empire, the city they stopped in was mentioned. The lady does not remember what exactly happened. Shouts are heard from the Colosseum. The formation seems somehow familiar, and the lady remembers that there was a knight next to Heronis the whole time. The brunette saved the child in the Colosseum, and the man swore to be her knight. Now the memories are restored. The blonde only remembers that it was a girl 3 or 4 years older. That's enough to find her. If Daphne befriends the right person first, her chances will increase significantly. That's exactly what she needs. The main goal is to make connections and develop skills, as well as go to Oswald, where the required academy is located. The adventure begins with the rescue of a local knight who remained in the Colosseum, where the heroine ended up with her brother. The little girl doesn't want to listen to or see all this horror. If the right person wasn't there, she would never have come. The first fight begins. The announcer announces it, and 2 people with some kind of weapon come out on stage. The girl is prepared, but everything that is happening seems too cruel. People are dying one after another, and claps are heard all around. Had to endure, but it looks like everything is too complicated, so the lady will return empty-handed. Another couple comes on stage. It seems that the last fight is worth watching. The girl with red hair seems quite familiar. The fight will be between the fallen aristocrat Fleur and the axe-wielding man Logen. The axe is clearly stronger than the sword, and if you look from the stands, the warrior is clearly not in the best position, because he can easily die. Obviously, people wouldn't come if the fights were boring. All that's left is to keep quiet and watch from afar. Fleur deftly dodges to do as it should be done. The man, on the other hand, falls to the ground with a crash. Even Rika is interested in what is happening. Diva fights without even using a weapon, because it serves as something unimportant to her. After the tournament ended, Daphne came to the deputy. Fleur is a combat slave, so she must first get permission from her master. Ricardo heard that ordinary mercenaries are involved. Because of the war, combat slaves appeared, but they are of no use because they only know how to fight. Such people are killed when they become useless. Everyone wants to live, but no one asks about it anymore. The girl's owner is away on business, but they can simplify everything. The young man clearly hints that he wants to get some money. Approaching one of the cages where the fighters are kept, the man calls out to Fleur. She has visitors, so she shouldn't hide in a dark corner. A girl with red hair comes into the light. She asks in surprise who it could be, looking forward through the bars. The little girl wanted to talk, so she asked for a meeting. She was rudely refused because they didn't even know each other. The woman doesn't like it here, but she is in the cage against her will. She was an aristocrat, but she lost all her resources. The entire family was executed for hatred of the imperial family, and the head of the Colosseum bought Fleur on the condition that she would be a slave. She cost a lot, but everyone is willing to pay for the opportunity to see something. The heroine wants to take the knight with her. She will most likely have to pay at least 100,000 gold. Rika asks about the main one because he is ready to pay, but the voice from the cage asks not to do this. She does not need anything. When they got home, Daphne was still pouting. Lennox only asked, but found out that the little girl didn't get what she wanted. The girl found what she was looking for, but the man didn't want to go anywhere with her. The fallen aristocrat is the best in the Colosseum. If the maiden is needed so badly, she can ask the Merchant Guild for help, but the blonde understands that Fleur must go of her own free will. The woman has been through hardships, but no one wants her to suffer even more. Tomorrow will be attempt number 2. The heroine is not sure that everything will be fine, but she is sure that she will be able to convince. The gift of persuasion has always been present. In the original, Maria destroys the Colosseum and saves Fleur. It was said that the girl wanted to get out, but now there is a refusal. The heroine tries to understand what is happening, but it does not become clearer. Most likely, there is a hidden reason. Tomorrow, the girl promises that she will go herself and even get permission from Chloe. She will take Kiki with her, who will help if anything happens. Ricardo takes a box out of his pocket. He gives the gift, although in fact he was going to do it much later. This is a magical item created by combining the brothers' abilities. They look like ordinary earrings, but they can be used to contact Lennox. If anything happens, my sister can call for help. Most likely nothing will happen, but we should save it just in case. The next morning, the Colosseum is again crowded with people. The lady is always surprised that so many people like to watch the battles. There must be a serious reason why the girl decided to stay there. She couldn't just say that. Another fighter steps forward. He was not visible the day before, but now he appears in front of the others, all in black. The fight begins, and this time Fleur also comes out, who always seems to be the last opponent. The attack begins almost immediately after the two stop glaring at each other. One of the swords flies towards the announcer. It's a draw, which doesn't bode well for Fleur this time. Daphne's eyes met those of the mysterious man. That same evening, the blonde came to the corridor with the cages again. This was all to meet her friend and try to convince her. The woman seems to be worried that she didn't come out on top this time. She must defend her title or something terrible will happen. This time, the lady came up with a slightly different question. She noticed that almost all the opponents use weapons, but the red-haired one tries not to do so. She doesn't like blood splashes that only get in the way and then stain her clothes. If she goes with Daphne, she won't see anything like that again. Benedito nods, but reminds her that she is one of those stubborn people who always achieves everything, so she has no right to lag behind. The girl leaves, but thinks about why it is so important to maintain the title of the strongest. That guy took it seriously. The warrior from the Colosseum appears on the way. He stops, but then simply walks forward calmly, saying that nothing is needed. Kiki hides his head. Apparently he had a nightmare, or that man in black really scared the kid. Fleur's opponent called Daphne himself, but said nothing. Perhaps he is trying to convey a hidden message. After many days, nothing happened. Redhead refused again and again, asking how long this could go on. Handing over a chocolate bar, the lady asks if her new friend wants to eat it. It seems she doesn't want to hear anything at all. The girl doesn't understand what they want from her. If they want to buy her so easily, then it's better to make a deal with the boss in the Colosseum. Worries about the slave's opinion must be dispelled. It seems as if the maiden really cares about it, so she does not give up. The heroine does not want to act against Fleur's will. This is not an acceptable solution, so she needs to agree with her. Once upon a time, those who were defeated were killed, and that is why the maiden refuses to strike with a sword, so as not to end lives. Daphne had heard that the red-haired girl was a knight, and noble people like her did not tolerate senseless killings. The knight raises his sword to protect his master. Now the lady thinks she is being mocked because of her lineage. In fact, the blonde just likes Fleur's nature. If she agrees to go with her, she will be promised something. The virgin will not have to fight in meaningless battles, and she, like a knight, will raise her weapon only to protect her master. The woman couldn't protect anyone, neither the kingdom nor the family, but in this case, she will be able to protect the new mistress. The heroine offers to go with her. The girl should think it over. In a week, the gentleman will return, and then everything can be discussed in more detail. On the street, the young lady meets the same fighter again. Kiki overreacts again because she rushes straight at him. The man says that everything is fine, even if the fox is quite stubborn and jumps into his arms. He offers to walk the lady home. They went to the hotel where Benedito lives. She is embarrassed that everything turned out this way because she raised the fox on her own. The couple finally reached a tall building. The blonde climbs into her baby, saying that she will thank him a little later. One of the servants asks why some impudent fellow with a suspicious mask is pursuing the heiress of the merchant guild. He only walked her home. The brunette heard that Benedito was staying at the estate, and apparently the little heir was standing in front of him. As a token of gratitude, the lady can recommend the man to the head of the guild since he wants to help with security. The little girl hasn't even seen her friend's face, so she can't do anything. He quickly takes off his mask, asking if it's better this way. The face is very reminiscent of Ragnar, who has been dead for a long time. The eyes are different, but overall the features are somewhat similar. The boy says his name is Nas, and his age is 17, the same as Fleur's. She hoped, but nothing came of it because it is not Sherbold. He is a free mercenary who has good skills. The girl saw him at the tournament, but then she wanted to go into security. It's hard for a mercenary without a master to get into Oswald. The heroine nods, promising that she will do everything in her power. Chloe goes outside, noticing her daughter. She wanted to introduce them, so she introduces the guild leader and the man. The young man immediately says something in farewell and leaves. Even Benedito notices that he looked like Rara. It is impossible for a dead person to appear before a living person in such a way as if nothing had happened. The red-haired woman promised to think about it, but for now the lady has the right to walk around the square of Jacksid, where they were staying. Sitting at the table, the heroine once again notices Nas. It's as if he's following her, hoping that he can convey something. The world is small, but the question arises, what is a man doing there? It is worth approaching or asking directly, but it is hard to find the strength. Kiki behaved strangely, so it is understandable that he would not approach someone he did not know. Approaching, the lady hands him a mug in gratitude for yesterday. They switch to familiarity. Daphne has repaid the kindness, so she has every right to do so. She introduces her name. The young man takes a sip and blinks his eyes in surprise. It is a chocolate drink that Benedito brought for a reason. The child should not wander around the city all alone. The knight promises that he will accompany his friend. Naz did it to protect the little girl. Word has already reached us of what's happening in the Colosseum. A small child comes every day, offering the best fighter to leave with her. Turning around, the beauty notices a strange man in a hood. He is still standing in one place and does not move. Rara is no longer alive, and the lady is still trying to cling to a stupid hope and does not notice anything around her. Daphne was escorted to the hotel. She asks us not to walk around the city alone, and as a token of gratitude, this can be done. The lady needs a new plan. Coming to the woman, the girl hands over the food that she specially bought. The red-haired girl decided to stay there, so nothing will come of it. She starts screaming that she's sick of it all and begs him not to come anymore. The blonde nods. She understands that tomorrow will be the last time and she'll just give up. Fleur sits down on the ground. She picked up the food she had thrown away and heard a question about that girl. No one else is coming. The woman should go alone, but she can't. Most likely it's because of the man who starts coughing. Ix's doesn't have long left, but there is no point in worrying about it because everything will be fine. On the day when the lady first appeared there, many laughed, but the man immediately realized that the aristocrat was a real knight. Without her friend's guidance, the lady would have died long ago. You can't just leave your savior in a cage like that. The conversation is interrupted by a rough male voice. The girl immediately turns around, recognizing him as her master. The head of the Colosseum, Emile, smiles, saying that they haven't seen each other for a long time. His tone does not bode well for either of them. Ixes hasn't performed for a long time, so he has to go on stage. They agreed that the lady will participate and take his place, but she doesn't fight as well as she promised, because the last fight ended in a draw. Many complaints were brought about because of the beauty. People were tired, but the knight begged to fight in a duel. The men too. Nothing will come of it, because the young man will fight against his ward. They will go out together and fight until one of them dies. Fleur doesn't want to fight to the death, but the brunette assures her that everything will be fine. She still has her whole life ahead of her. If the redhead had told the truth to that girl, perhaps things would have gotten easier. Instead, the lady was stubborn. She couldn't ask a child to save 2 lives. If there is another chance, then the girl will tell everything. At the most opportune moment, the blonde appeared, as if from nowhere, asking why her friend was crying. The man from the cage screams for the baby to free Fleur as soon as possible so that things don't get worse. They seem to be close, but if Exes asks to pick up her friend, something definitely happened, and it's not good. The blonde asks to tell her what is happening, but she doesn't notice how a man appears behind her, swinging a bat. The head hurts badly, and the heroine herself is sitting behind bars. Sometimes courage costs a lot. The owner of the Colosseum made sure that the girl ended up in a cage. Emile steps out of the shadows. He heard a rumor that someone was trying to take Fleur, and he didn't expect to see such a young lady. A wonderful product has fallen into his hands. The blonde will sell the girl at the next auction to some aristocrat. Fleur apologizes because she should have agreed much earlier. It's too early because the girl was going to meet her brothers at 11. The heroine foresaw this outcome, but now they need to quickly get to the exit, which is on the other side. The blonde had been stalked by a strange man for several days in a row, so she said she would come one last time, thereby provoking action. The redhead swears that her friend acted so recklessly. She should have thought about what was happening. If the beauty can't give up fighting, then the baby will just stop everything so she can leave. The heroine wants to hear the whole story. She will take them both, and she will find a good doctor for Zesu who will cure him. First, you need to get out. The castle is locked with a magic key, without which nothing can be opened. After a few seconds, everything was revealed. This was done with the help of a magic potion that neutralizes magic. Kiki jumps out first and starts sniffing the ground. He will lead them all to the exit of the Colosseum. At this rate, you can meet with security, and that's exactly what happened. Virgo did a great job, using a sleeping spell. The lady uses it herself for the first time, but everything worked perfectly. Now the mercenaries will sleep for a very long time. Lennox's voice is heard in the earring. They found the door, but they can't open it because the mechanism is in a different place. Ricardo promises to get them out with magic. They must wait a little while before that happens. Frayne is worried. Emil has most likely already found out that the couple got out and could attack right at the door. The owner actually appeared in the distance. He is furious because the cage was opened with the help of some potion. In any case, the shackles will not allow anyone to go further. These are magical fetters that are only visible when you press the button. The blonde notices his fighters. He thought Daphne was just a cute kid, but it turns out that's not true at all. The girl quickly runs away while there is still a chance to get out. She is grabbed by Naz, who pulls her body around the corner. The baby ended up there for her own reasons, but she is grateful that she was saved from what could have happened. There is a bump in her hair from a blow on her head. Most likely one of the guards hurt her while she was running away. The man seems to be worried, but it doesn't matter for now. The lady goes out to meet her brothers. It seems that the young man sees the girl as a hamster, because he will not allow her to wander around dark places on her own. She's not going to run away because there are people left who need to be saved before it's too late. They need to be okay. Before heading out, the young man suggests going into the owner's office and not leaving empty-handed. In the office, the man keeps various magical objects, which can also be used to open the shackles on the legs. Dispelling the magical bonds is more difficult than it seems, given that there is much more stuff in the office. The search is interrupted by a gruff voice asking who is there. The door opens abruptly. Emil notices the girl, happy that he and the guards will catch her and send her back to the cage. The battle begins, with Naz the first to participate. He manages to strike one after another and harm the owner. The ceiling collapses, revealing a huge hole through which two figures can be seen on the roof. These are Daphne's brothers, who have already arrived just in time. They agreed to meet and realized that their sister needed help. Ricardo notices the same device with the button on the table. It can remove any shackles, so this is already a plus for saving the slaves. Fleur can't be taken away, but the brothers don't think so. The magician makes the button turn to ashes, which means there are no more shackles. The master of the Tower of Mages must be able to dispel the simplest spells. He raises many stones around himself. The young man is about to cooperate and give the girl back, but it's too late. When the bomb planted in the Colosseum explodes, the slaves will run away on their own. Emil kidnapped Benedito's heiress and wanted to sell her. He simply starts making excuses, even if it makes no sense. The brothers returned for Fleur and Zez, but they were found unconscious. The first thing they did was take the victims to the infirmary. The owner of the Colosseum was soon arrested. The girl heard that everyone was just waiting for a reason to lock him up in prison. Everything ended quite well. Even the red-headed one woke up. She was immediately calmed down and assured that everything was fine. Xiz is in the next room. The couple didn't know if Benedito would return, so they decided to clean up on their own. The girl took the sword with her, which the knight entered the arena with. It is probably important. Daphne asks for forgiveness for the fact that she was hurt. Nothing terrible happened because the story ended well for all of them. For this, they should be grateful only to this kind girl. If the offer still stands, then the lady wishes to become a faithful knight who will protect his mistress from all adversity. The girl didn't think that someone like Fleur would swear allegiance. She wasn't even an aristocrat, but that was exactly what was being counted on.